GTP cars come off of the banking, come past the start-finish line at about 190 miles an hour. At that point, you apply the brakes very, very hard, pull it down into third gear. We skip from fifth to third, go through the first part of what I call turn one, which is turns out to be a double corner, but with our car we take it as one. And we sweep through that in third gear, accelerate down the little short chute into the second right-hander, which I call turn two, which is probably called turn three. Brake very hard and put the car in second.
Well, Jim, we do the same thing. We treat that first, second corner as the same sort of one big radius turn, then the little quick right-hander down over a hill, and you have to be careful the grade change there doesn't upset you, and then the same thing. We can run that either in second or third. That Buick has so much torque, I think second is quicker.
This is another place where the two cars vary. With smaller cars, also are lighter and probably are as quick, if not quicker, through most of these corners on the infield, because you have to remember that the GTP car weighs over 1,800 pounds, and the GTP junior cars probably weigh, 16 or 1,700 pounds.
For sure, the most crucial corner is the one that leads before the main straight, and I think the key to that over-the-hill left-hand combination is really almost giving away the uphill right-hander before it, and get the car settled over to the right side of the racetrack and carry it on up to the banking.
Our car immediately goes into fifth gear, so we're probably at about 1.9 Gs through that first corner. And then we come out on the back straight. We've got the old rocket sled in gear at that point, and we start down that back straight. In the big turbocharged Porsches, certainly the toughest corner on the course would be turn 3 and 4 on the banked oval. When we come in there, it's really a white knuckle express. You come down in there and just lift, get it back on the floor, and really hang on for dear life all the way around that thing. And it's always in the back of your mind, unfortunately, that if there's somebody blocking you, you come out of the throttle, you don't really know what's going to happen. So not only is it the most difficult, it certainly is the most frightening.
We come down off of turn 4, carrying maximum revs again, 87, 8800. Across the start-finish line, and then it's that hard braking, downshifting to get into turn 1, and I just can't seem to get that right. Perhaps in the race it'll come to me, but my timing so far is off, and as I said, you treat that one in turn 2 as one big turn, so if you play the first part of it, you really lost a lot of
ground. The pole with a record of 1 minute 4 and 921 thousandths of a second is that Porsche 962 of Al Holbert and the great Le Mans champion Derek Bell. On the outside of row 1 is the Buick March, the American V6 turbo-powered Buick, and it will be John Paul and Bill Adam in that car. Going to row number 2, that's the Ford Klaus Ludwig in the second performance for this brand new prototype, and from Georgia, Doc Bundy. In row 3, Pete Halsmer and John Morton, who won for B.F. Goodrich at Riverside, California, just a few Sundays back in their Porsche 962. On the outside, on the inside of row 3, comes the great champion, formerly of England, Brian Redman, with the Jaguar V12, and with him, of course, Hurley Haywood. Outside of the third row, the car that took second in that Road Atlanta performance, Bob Tullius and Chip Robinson, when Brian Redman went on to victory. Those are the cars in the front 3 row, and here are the rest of the starters in today's program. John Kalajian has qualified very well with his car number 15 Porsche March. It'll be Tommy Grunno working with him. There's Jim Busby and Rick Knoop. They'll have our camera on board. Going to row 5. There you'll find the Shelton brothers out of Florida in their Chevy March. Then comes Billy Hagan, who owns the stock car of Terry Labonte, running at Dover, Delaware this afternoon, and the great Carson Baird. Row 6 is Jim Truman, and he is teamed with his new protege, Ludwig Heimrath. Bob Aiken is next, and Jim Mullen. That's a car to really watch here today, car number 5, a Porsche 962. Ken Martin and Wayne Pickering with their Buick March come next in the field. The Anderson-Bourne car crashed in practice, will not be out today. Car number 33. It crashed just this morning. Row 8, Jimmy Leeward, Emery Donaldson. What a great story on Leeward. We'll be telling you more about it later. Jim Downing, that's the first of the Camel Light cars as the field begins to roll out. It It's Walt Boren working with Al Leon in one of the Leon cars out of Texas, that's being the Chevy March. Then comes Charles Morgan and Indy veteran Bill Alsop, now back into this form of racing. And you're inside for just a moment as we see the rest of the field of Busby's BFG car as it rolls away. The Polly Marsh car in row 10. The Porsche March with Art Leon and Marty Hines comes up next. Going to row 11, Ira Young is there. That Mazda, Jeff Klein with him, number 75. Then in the Camel Light Series, here's Peter Greenfield's car, Robert Hurlin. Going to row number 12, Warner Frank and Dave White, start number 26. And then you see the team of Nicholson and Bertzel today with their Mazda. Row 13, Tom Hessert, Stephen Durst coming out here with a Mazda, a Harrier no less. Old name. Now this is an interesting car. Mike von Steenberg and Larry O'Brien, the $15,000 prototype. More on that later. In row 14 for today's race, that car crashed in practice this morning. It was one of the major forces in yesterday's race. Number 97 Corvette, the Seifers car, in problems, not coming out. Gene Felton is back with Tommy Riggins in that GTO Firebird. And finally, going to row 15, Dan Schott and his Firebird, number 31. Roger Mandeville and Danny Smith, row 15 outside as we get set for the start of this 310 500-kilometer event. Let's go to Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
We're quickly with Derek Bell in the pole-sitting car. You've got a new game plan here in your 20th year of racing. Tell me about that.
Well, I've been reading a book on called Eat to Win. The only trouble is all I've had done ever since is have second places. But I'm hoping it'll work today. Basically, it's just a high-carbohydrate diet.
Down at Daytona, you took $100 bills from us all day long for leading the 24 hours here on TBS Sports. Today, in honor of Eat to Win, for every lap that you lead, a biscuit, and for if you win the race, a drumstick, okay?
Oh, what, no grits? I thought that's what you're meant to eat down here.
Can you win this thing today?
We'll be trying very hard, but we'll have to see how we get on with the tires. That's going to be the main problem.
That's the key issue is tires. Derek Bell will start along with Al Holbert. Holbert in the car now. That's the pole-sitting machine. Ken?
As they come through turn number 8 of the 2.25-mile course, the 24-degree banking. Some say this is the fastest part of the course, Dave, when they whip down here by the start-finish line. Al Holbert was saying it's definitely quicker for him going into turn number 3 of the super speedway.
Well, of course, it depends how they go through the banking. Some of them, there's somebody jumping the start, number 62, the Chevrolet March, pulled down on the inside, but it didn't do much good.
And the Ford jumps out in front as they quickly go down into turn number 1. It is the Ford going in the lead, and the driver in the Ford to start today will be Klaus Ludwig. Ludwig putting the Ford in front as the field rolls away to start the Charlotte Grand Prix.
Yeah, that Ford making a good start. They had a bit of bad news this morning when they found the water in the oil, and they've only, as we all saw, they've only just got it to the grid, but he's trying to make the best of it while he can, and Al Holbert lurking there in second spot. This is going to be the strong car. The number 14 Porsche of Holbert and Bell is going to be very, very hard to beat.
We saw the number 60.
Whoa, and there's, I think that's the March Buick. Got all sideways there. I hope it is the March Buick too. Number 45, Bill Adam, got right out of shape there. Oh dear, this team, this Phil Conti team has the most appalling luck this year. They haven't finished a race yet. And if he's not careful, he's right at the back of the field. He is now absolutely dead last.
Car number 45 coming back on with Jim Adam now at the controls. There's the lead car. That's the Ford Probe as they come down through the banking for the first time. Second place car closing ground is Al Holbert. Al Holbert in the 14 moving up at over 185 miles an hour down into the hardest braking section of the course going to turn 1. Holbert moves up on the Ford Probe.
Well, of course, one of the advantages the Porsche's got is it's got much more cubic capacity than the little Ford. The Ford is only a 2-litre or 120 cubic inches, whereas the Porsche, of course, is a 3.2-litre, much bigger engine. And right behind Holbert is the first of the Goodrich cars going well.
Halsmer and Morton, who won at Riverside, California, lie third on the field. And then there is a big interval back to the 4th position.
Well, this is a 500-kilometer race by NASCAR standards. Of course, that's not quite as long as they run, but on the other hand, there's a lot more turns, gear shifting, braking. This is pretty hard on the cars.
As we watch that lead Ford Probe, you've got to wonder what Klaus Ludwig is thinking about David Hobbs, because that is a brand new engine. We mentioned earlier there was water in the oil this morning, and they had to change that engine. As we saw, the engine change didn't get completed until the parade lap. Ludwig has quickly gone to the front. He's pushing the motor hard, but I can't help but wonder if he's not wondering about the reliability. Not only is it a brand new car overall, but it's got an untried engine in the compartment.
Well, Ford at the moment are absolutely desperate to finish a race. They came out with this type of prototype car 2 years ago with the first and the second at Elkhart Lake, and since then they've barely finished a race. So they're really, really anxious to finish. And I think you'll find they're running less boost than they would like to from horsepower point of view. On the other hand, he doesn't look like it now, does he? I mean, he's still holding on to that lead. But in the back of his mind, he really wants to finish this race.
2 Porsche 962s follow the Ford Probe as they go through the infield portion of the course. As they line them up now, Halsmer in the number 68 car runs third, Busby fourth for the BFG team. Then it's the Jaguars running in fifth and sixth. Hurley Haywood's 04, followed by Bob Tullius in the 44. And Carson Baird has moved car number 4 into 7th position overall.
As we see the cars come up onto the banking there, Ludwig seems to get a bit of a jump on that Porsche. The car is the same weight as the Porsche. In fact, the car is actually a little bit heavier than the Porsche. There's some strange anomaly of the rules here, and it weighs about 90 pounds more than the Porsche for some reason. But he's certainly hanging on to his lead. But the car looks a little bit skittish to me in the infield.
One car slowing, and
car number 10.
Number 10, I think that's the Jimmy Leeward car. They just changed the motor on that car yesterday. Very famous car that Bobby Rahal won some races in. People may remember from 1983 at Sebring and at Daytona. Here's your leader, the Ford Probe in front, and right behind him, Al Holbert. Challenging.
You see, the Probe to me looks a little bit tail happy there, which on this circuit could be bad news for tyre wear, because tyres are going to play a major part in this race because of that long bank turn at the north end of the circuit, which these cars and tyres aren't really designed for.
Now you're inside of Jim Busby's car, which is running in the 4th position. You're in the BF Goodrich, car number 67. Second place finisher, Riverside, California, and the team car won that event. You remember you saw them come across on Motor Week Illustrated. 1-2.
This car that Jim's driving, in fact, is the car that I drove last year in the World Endurance Championship in Europe. And so that steering wheel and dashboard is pretty familiar to me. This view going around the banking is not. I haven't driven here at Charlotte. But he's now coming up to round about 195 miles an hour. On the gear chart, they show 190, but when you take into account tyre growth, they're pulling close to 200.
Now, most cars on ovals, driver sits on the left. Sports cars, because of the number of right-hand turns, they sit on the right, and it puts them right up against the wall. And that's got to be some sensation, David.
Well, it definitely makes scraping the wall, as the NASCAR guys do, with such frequency, obviously a little bit more hairy, because you are next to the wall yourself. There we see the Probe still leading, starting to come into lap traffic now. Holbert hanging on right there. Holbert's in no real rush here. He's got a lot of time, and he's got a great co-driver. Well, I say great, he's okay.
Don Devendorf crashed coming off the high banking of turn 3 in the Nissan car. That prototype was wrecked yesterday morning, will not race, and there's a good chance that it may not be available for Lime Rock, Connecticut on May the 27th.
But if they're using the same car as crashed yesterday, it definitely will not be ready for Lime Rock, Connecticut. I mean, it was really badly bent out of shape. And there we see the Porsche hanging on to the Probe, and I think he's going to make a shot at passing him this time. Yeah.
Holbert down to the inside.
Use the draft of the Probe. Whistles down the inside.
This is happening in lap number 5. In lap number 5, Al Holbert is pushing his Porsche into the lead, and falling to second goes the Klaus Ludwig car. Ford Probe back into second position as they go to turn 1 with traffic in front of them as they scoot down into this very hard-braking, most difficult part of the course to get in there right.
Ooh, 2 lap cars there. The first one staying right out of the way. The one they're just about to lap now, that's Jim Downing, who is in fact leading the Camel Light class. So it just shows the difference between the main GTP protagonist and the Camel Light car. Puff of smoke out of somebody there. I wasn't sure whether it was Al Holbert's car or the Downing Mazda. Ooh,
there's Downing.
Slips between the 2 leaders, and this, of course, is the sort of thing that can be pretty frustrating to the second guy.
That little red car is Jim Downing, the man who, as much as any driver, has helped to organize this Camel Light series, which has added new life to prototype racing. It gives folks that don't have the wherewithal to go out and perform and to run in prototype cars with engines that you can get a lot of wear out, a lot of use out over the year, and not spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars necessary for a car like this number 14.
Well, it does cost a lot of money, but like I said at the top of the show, we've got a lot of interested manufacturers now. Porsche, Jaguar, Nissan, Toyota are getting involved. So I think that money from that point of view is not such a big problem. And of course, it's what makes good racing.
6 laps are now complete. And we have Al Holbert leading, Klaus Ludwig in second, Halsmer is third, Busby fourth, Brian Redmond in fifth, Tullius in sixth. Gone back in front and leads by about 15 car lengths as they enter turn number 1. It is Ludwig in front. Al Holbert is back in second position. He overtook him coming down the straightaway into turn number 1, and Ludwig puts this 4-cylinder car back in the lead of this great prototype Charlotte Grand Prix.
Well,
let's go to Chris Economaki quickly for a report from the Ford pits.
Okay, I'm with Alan Smith, the team manager. Well, Alan, that engine change, is the car right for today? Is the car as good as it was yesterday before you had trouble with the engine?
Yeah, the car is fine. It's just an unplanned engine change today, something that we just expect. But, you know, it was a very fast change, so we'll just have to see how it goes now.
You expect to go the distance?
We certainly hope so.
Okay, Alan Smith, the team manager, says that the Ford is out there for the full distance. Back to you, Ken.
310 miles, the full distance to be run today, and right now it has the advantage over Al Holbert in the Porsche 962, the 6-cylinder turbo-powered car.
Now, another thing that's going to play, I'm sure, an active part in today's race is that, like the Daytona 500 that we saw earlier in the year, the temperature has gone up today quite considerably from yesterday, which will have a detrimental effect on these turbochargers and on the tyres, which are already somewhat marginal. So it'll be very interesting to see how they get on, especially the two Goodrich cars, which are using tyres which are certainly based on street-type tyres.
And they have already scored 1 victory, and it was a sweep earlier this year. Here you see the field down through that second turn. There are a total of 9 laps now complete. 9 laps have been completed of the distance to be run on this 2.25-mile track. There's the leader. It is the Ford Probe out in front.
Coming up to lap Dave White in the Porsche 935, which until only 3 years ago, or 2 years ago really, the 935 was absolutely the car to have in IMSA GTP racing, and here we see it being put a lap down already.
Car number 45 has come back to the 13th position after spinning earlier. The John Paul Adam car has moved all the way back up to third. There you see it. There's the Buick March, the V6 American engine March car. John Paul Jr. and Adam, the drivers, in car number 45, which is working its way, marching back to the field from dead last.
It's doing very well. He's only 27 seconds behind the leader, and one of his last laps was about a 1 minute 10 seconds, which is only just a few seconds slower than they qualified at, and in all his traffic, he's obviously pressing on pretty hard.
Quick update on another car that's going to have to catch up, Ken. Our Camel Light pole-sitting car. Jim Downey and John Mafucci have been in and out of the pits. They thought they had a flat tire, couldn't find anything wrong, and went back out, but they've now fallen well down into the Camel Light field.
Well, Ford had a disastrous day here yesterday in the GTO race. They lost both of their top cars after a brilliant drive by Lynn St. James, one of the finest performances we've ever seen in that GTO category. She worked the car up in front. They made a driver change, and unfortunately for Bruce Jenner, just as he came out for his first lap, a car spun in front of him and backed across the track and took out the leader, knocking them out of competition. And the Jones car had a terrible crash with Dennis Ossie in the main straightaway, and that car was eliminated with Dennis Ossie's Toyota from that 300-kilometer event yesterday. We'll have an update on that story and show you the pictures later this afternoon from the action that took place here at Charlotte yesterday.
Meanwhile, the Probe seems to be putting a bit of daylight between himself and Al Holbert, but a sight that is not guaranteed to gladden the heart of any promoter is the fact that there's 4 reasonably competitive cars all on pit lane at the moment. Not a good omen this early in the race. The Probe probing the field, pushing on, definitely opening out ground on Al Holbert. But I don't suppose Al Holbert's about to panic just yet.
Oh, no, indeed. The veteran Al Holbert stays right up there in second place. Al Holbert looking for another victory today, well over 30. There from the helicopter, you see the view. The infield packed where they can park in the infield. Now we're looking at the battle for the 4th and 5th position here. And that is 5th and 6th at the present time. That is the Haywood car and the Bob Tullius Jaguars working their way through the infield portion of the course. Back in one of the Camel Light cars there.
The gap between the leaders and Bill Adams still remains at around about 29 or 30 seconds, but of course they're all in traffic, so I suppose it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. But 30 seconds behind at this stage of the race, of course, is no big problem.
Al Holbert working on his 34th victory in the International Motorsports Association, leading the point standings currently, running in second to the leader. There's the Probe out in front. Klaus Ludwig now at the controls, and there's the second place car, number 14, Al Holbert.
running strongly, but there's a long way to go. The probe is going very, very well. Klaus Ludwig driving it sensibly. They're not going too fast. I'm sure they're all well. There we see number 10 car blocking Al Holbert as they go to pass in the infield there. One of the problems in this sort of racing is that you have to pass a lot of people a lot of times. Give it a little bit more of a lead to Klaus Ludwig, who has about a 2-second lead now over Al Holbert.
Remember, that's a fresh motor they installed just this morning. If you're just joining us, this car was the last car on the grid. It made the start by seconds, or it would have been a DNS in today's race.
I'm sure that Klaus Ludwig is hoping very much that the mechanics manage to tighten up all the required nuts, bolts, hoses, pipes, wires, etc. before starting off on this 310-mile race. It looks very steady around that banking, that probe, extremely steady over that transition from the 24-degree banking to the front straight, where everybody else is weaving around a little bit. It looks pretty stable there.
Well, these cars on that banking, they'll tell you it's one of the roughest rides that they've had on any course. It really gets their attention.
Well, of course, the difference between these and, say, the stock cars as they go around the banking, apart from the fact that these are going about 25 miles an hour quicker than the stock cars, is that their weight goes up tremendously, not just with centrifugal force and gravity, but of course the ground effect is that it's most effective at that high speed.
The Probe Mustang's predecessor was plagued by bugs. Does Klaus Ludwig have faith in this new machine that's leading?
The only thing we can do is keep fingers crossed. The car is very new, and I hope we solve all our problems.
Apparently have the problem solved, even the late ones this morning for Klaus Ludwig. Out in front from Bonn, Germany, and car number 7 whipping down into the north banking once again, about 180 miles per hour into that 24-degree banking.
Well, more than that, more like 190, maybe even more than that, 195 miles an hour. Just going to try and go under one of the Leon brothers here. Always a slightly scary proposition as they go across the start-finish line. I noticed that already a lot of the back markers are doing exactly what they were told not to do in the driver's briefing this morning, and that is wander from side to side of the road, try and stick to the lanes, which are all clearly marked here at Charlotte. At least they have that advantage, but I noticed they're already wandering all over the road, which makes passing back markers very hazardous because you don't know where they're going to wander to next.
14 laps have been completed. It's still the Ford Probe in front. Al Holbert is in second. Halsmer runs in third. And we have Haywood now running in fourth. Busby is in fifth. More in a moment. From our Superstation helicopter, you're looking at the Charlotte Grand Prix, this 2.25-mile course. Meandering through the infield of a 1.5-mile super speedway, where right now Ford is trying to make history. In only the second performance of the Probe car, it is leading over the Porsche 962s from Germany. Al Holbert's car is running in second. The Halsmer Morton car is third. The Jaguar of Brian Redman has come to fourth, and he is being challenged at the present time by the Jim Busby BFG Porsche 962. There's your leader, number 7, down that long back straightaway into turn 3 of the super speedway, turn 8 of this road course.
And the car's still running very strongly up there, and you see he can go very low on the banking there, hold a good tight line, and I assume he's not stressing his tyres too much by doing that. And he's holding about a 2-second lead over Al Holbert, which at the moment is obviously pretty meaningless, but it's nice to have all the same.
Let's go to Dave Despain.
And a good story developing here in the Camel Light competition. As a matter of fact, we've just this moment been advised of a position swap. We'll get to that in a moment. The good story is at the top. The leaders in this race, Bill Alsop currently in the car. We took a tour of the track with him at the top of the show. His co-driver, John Morgan, is recovering from a broken shoulder, so he's got a problem to confront when he gets into the car. That was a Camel GTP machine that has been downsized to a Camel Light. They put a smaller engine in it, and they're having a pretty good run right now because they're leading the division. The change in positions moved 75 up to second spot with Young and Klein at the wheel, and the 93 machine has fallen to third. That's the Marsh Hawley entry.
There's the story on the Camel Light category, is that car that won at Laguna Seca, that number 6 car, is running well again today here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Klaus Ludwig, car number 7, stays up in the front running position through the banking another time. Right up against the wall as you come down out of turn number 4, the super speedway, come across the start-finish line in high gear, then into the brakes, downshift, all the way down to make this turn number 1, as Busby and Bill Alsop were pointing out to you in our course description earlier.
Well, these cars, of course, with the ground effects, develop tremendous braking ability. I mean, they'll brake at about 3.5 Gs. which is quite a lot when you're sitting in that car braking, and it's amazing just how quickly they will stop, because almost braking is infinite, because the faster you go, the more the ground effects are, the more it pushes on the road, and the more it stops when you want it to. And going into this turn here is obviously a pretty good experience for these guys. Bill Adam is still about just over 33 seconds behind, so he's holding station with those leading cars, not making up ground, he's making up positions, and he's now up to 7th.
All right, here's the battle that's now developing. There you see the Jim Busby BF Goodrich car, number 67, second place finisher at Riverside, California, and he's closing a little here on car number 04. That's the Brian Redmond Jaguar V12.
That was Hurley Haywood putting a wheel on the edge there. And now we'll probably see it. They're just about to come out onto the banking as they go over this big bump. You watch it bump right there. And this is where he'll make up ground on that Jaguar. He'll use the Jaguar's draft, just like the NASCAR cars do on this long straight. Plus he's got more top-end horsepower, so he'll probably catch him up and maybe even pass him down this back straight.
That's the 5th place car, trying to close on the 4th place car, the V12. The XJR5 Jaguar, now being driven by Hurley Haywood. Here they are out of...
Hurley getting just a little bit blocked there.
Just a tad.
By one of the Leon brothers, number 22. That's a Porsche engine March.
Here they are to that slow part of the course.
Now there's a bit of bad luck for the Porsche. The March got between him and the Jaguar. And that's going to put it further behind, because that's a very critical place, because this is where the Jaguar is quicker than the March, than the Porsche anyway, through this infield. The Jaguar V12, full 6 litres, has a lot of torque in this sort of corner, and as you can see, he's pulled out quite a substantial amount. There's just those 3 corners.
Shifts per lap on this track, would you estimate?
Oh, probably 15 or 16 per lap. Unless you jump gears. I always jump gears. I don't make all the downshifts. When I'm downshifting, I go from 5th to 2nd or whatever gear I require, which sort of cheats a little bit.
Back with the leader once again, and you're seeing car number 4. That's the Carson Bear car, about to be lapped by number 7, Klaus Ludwig, the leader, and right behind him, the 2nd place car is Al Holbert.
Now that move there of Klaus Ludwig's cutting that corner quite that severely, it's sort of, you know, you don't need that in a 500-kilometer race, because that's the sort of thing that gives you a flat tire. You pick up a puncture, you bend a wheel rim. It's just not called for.
The leader in the GTL class, Camel Light class, is just 2 cars up. You see that number 6, that's the Elsom car. And then the number 4 is the Carson Baird, Billy Hagan. Billy Hagan must be torn today. His driver, Terry Lamonti, up at Dover, Delaware. We hope to give you a report of the finish of that before we're finished this afternoon.
There's the probe drafting up behind that Chevrolet. They passed the Camel Light car. Let's put another lap down on him. Here's the probe trying to probe his way past that Chevrolet engine Lola, which is going surprisingly fast down the back straight. Carson Baird holding him off for another whole lap, unless Klaus Ludwig can put one on him going through here on the brakes.
Carson Baird with 11 IMSA victories. Many remember him from his Ferrari days. Pulls over, and there is Klaus Ludwig with the Ford Probe staying out in front. Now Holbert will have to deal with that car number 4.
This may give Klaus Ludwig a little bit of a break on the infield here, although that Carson Baird car really close behind him as they come to these tight infield corners. The superior torque of that big Chevrolet V8 telling over the small engine turbocharged car in the engine in the Pro.
21 of 138 laps have been completed, with the Ford Probe staying in front, the Porsche of Al Holbert in 2nd, Alsmer is in 3rd, the Jaguar is in 4th, and there you see Brian Redmond at it again with car number 67 as they continue their dice further back in the field. That's the 4th position scramble that's going on, and the Hurley Haywood in car number 04, the Redmond Haywood car battling with the Porsche 962, the BF Goodrich car.
The BF Goodrich car, of course, having a sort of street radial tire fitted to it. They look pretty like racing tires to me, but they assure me the design is based on their street radial. Now this is where the Porsche is going to pull away from the Jaguar. Once they get off this banking and it really gets itself into gear, it'll pull away.
6-cylinder turbo-powered Porsche beginning to get some length going down the back straightaway. The V12 Jaguar comes after him once again.
V12's got tremendous torque, very drivable in traffic. Fabulous to drive on a really twisty course. It's twisty all the way.
Here's the leader, and he's up to Lap Collision's car. Here comes Al Holbert, who's moved around the Carson Baird number 4 car. Klaus Ludwig putting a lap on the collision car. The infield portion, of course, his Chevy marks collision going a lap, or Porsche marks going a lap down.
So there's one of the things this is doing all the time is Klaus Ludwig's keeping somebody between him and his immediate pursuer, Al Holbert, car number 14. At all times he keeps on nipping around people and leaving Al Holbert hung out to dry with some back mark between them.
The leader, Klaus Ludwig, working lap 23 here. Should be a little more than midway to his first pit stop. He's going to have to stop significantly more early than the second place car. We look for a pit stop from the 7-Eleven probe on lap 40, while Al Holbert says they'll stay out probably 20 more laps than that. So we could see a lead change on the pit stop, all else remaining equal.
To complete his 23rd lap, his car number 7, and it is Klaus Ludwig, who drove for Ford back in the early 70s. Michael Kranifus discovering his talent and bringing him along after he had started with BMW briefly. Then he went to the Porsche team. There's Al Holbert looking for that win number 34. Will it happen at Charlotte today? That's the question that we'll have resolved at the end of 500 kilometers in the Charlotte Grand Prix. It is Ludwig still in front. Al Holbert maintaining the second spot. Then the BF Goodrich car runs in third. Jaguars are fourth and fifth. Jim Busby falling to fifth. More from Charlotte after this.
For the Charlotte Grand Prix, Klaus Ludwig continues to lead, but right now we're talking to John Paul Jr. John, your car started second, fell back there with a spin early on. What was the problem?
Well, from what I can gather, he got boxed in the infield there and ran off the road and spun it around.
Is there going to necessitate an early pit stop for you guys?
No, we're still going to run the same strategy. We've been doing the lap times versus Holbert, and he seems to be running the same speed. We're just quite a ways down, so try and run a conservative boost pressure and try and get the fuel mileage and come in the same time Al does, and hopefully we'll get a yellow and be able to catch back up and be running with the front.
Is it tough to wait your turn?
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Well, he's got a long ways to go, it sounds like.
Well, Jerry, they pulled it within 36 seconds to the leader, and that car number 45 is now being shown as 6 overall. They've just passed Busby and Knoop in the BF Goodrich car, and they're closing on the 12-cylinder Jaguar of Tullius and Robinson, number 44 at this point. Dave Despain?
Strategy, Ken, would be something new for this team. They've not been conservative this year. John Paul and Bill Adam have had that car on the front row 6 times this year, and they've run it hard, but it's been a hand grenade all year. The engine has been pretty solid, but they've had a lot of other finishing problems. Their conservative strategy matches with the strategy of the second-place car. Al Holbert is going to try to go the distance as well on the fuel that he has here with just 1 pit stop, and that's going to be key. How many stops do you have to make to finish?
Well, there we saw Bill Adam. Here we see the leader now, the 7-Eleven car of Klaus Ludwig, who is about 42 seconds in front of that Arndt Buick now, Bill Adam and John Paul Jr. But that's still not catastrophic at this stage of the race.
The Ford Mustang Probe, 3rd generation of prototype race cars from Ford, built by Zaxby of USA over the past 12 months, and in its 2nd performance, it is now leading here as you watch it live on Superstation WTBS. The only car of its kind in the world, the Probe, another one being constructed now. This car will then become the Mule, and when the 3rd car is finished off, we'll see a regular team that will feature in prototype racing Lynn St. James, who certainly proved to everyone yesterday her right to campaign with these, the most exotic sports cars in the world.
Well, there we saw old Klausy baby getting his tail out just a little bit there. Al Holbert stalking right behind him. This fuel business, of course, is becoming very interesting in this race now.
Battle for 4th right here. There it is, and there is the Hurley Haywood car closing in. Haywood moving in.
No, I think that's Bob Tullius, actually. That's the Bob Tullius car.
The Tullius car.
Closing in on the 68 car of Pete Holzman. Meanwhile, the Hurley Haywood car has gone on past him, and there he goes by him. You see that superior torque coming out of that tight corner? Whistles by him on that infield straight there. Gets in front of him. Now what he needs to do, of course, is in the next 2 corners, this long right hand and then the left one following it. He needs to get enough space between him and the Porsche to stop the Porsche, repass him down the back straight, because that is where it's definitely quicker.
Tullius in the Jaguar to 4th. And the Halsmer Morton car falls to 5th. Leader remains the Ford, Holbert Bell 2nd, Redmond Haywood in the 04 Jaguar running in 3rd overall.
Yeah, these Jaguars are tough to beat when it comes to the race. They don't qualify quite as well as the Porsches, and here is definitely not their type of track because of the long straights. There we see the leader again. Klaus Ludwig coming up to lap Bob Aiken and his Porsche, another 962, very popular car in this series. The best off-the-peg racer in the world. You buy it, it comes in a truck, you take it out of the truck, you put it on the racetrack, and you can go and win races. Art Stuck put that red Coca-Cola car that's just out of the picture now. Here we see it again. He put that on the pole at Sebring with a record-shattering speed, and it was a brand new car. There we see Klaus Ulrich putting the lap down, and here's Holbert following close behind.
The second Ford driver is standing by with Jerry Garrett right now.
Here in the shade. Doc, how do you feel today?
Well, I could feel better. I have a little bit of a stomach virus, but I feel real good about the car right now. She's running like a top.
It didn't look that way early this morning. It looked like a real end zone catch to even get into the race.
Yeah, that's true. We had an oil pressure problem and a high oil temperature, and we discussed it with the crew, and they decided they wanted to change it. We didn't ask for that, but that's what they wanted to do, so they took a gamble, and so far it's paid off.
Well, what's the strategy for the team on fuel stops and for tire stops?
Well, he hasn't. I talked to the crew chief right after the beginning of the race. He told me at that time he hadn't had a chance to work out our fuel mileage, but we're looking at around 40 laps. We may come a couple laps earlier than that. And then I'll get in, I'll do about the same, and then Klaus will finish, hopefully.
Doc Bundy, who predicted at the top of the program that they would be the winners today. Klaus Ludwig of Bonn, Germany, continues to have the advantage over the Porsche 962, being driven by Al Holbert currently, and Derek Bell to take over in lap traffic coming down into turn number 1. Klaus Ludwig leading in this Charlotte Grand Prix. Tremendous crowd out in the infield through the grandstands here in the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where next week it'll be the home of the World 600.
While we were talking to Doc Bundy there, we saw the number 10 Chevrolet March spin out as it went into the infield, but he didn't hit anything. He backed it out of the grass and drove off, and he's up and running again now. There we see the leader coming up to lap the Jim Downing car, the Jim Downing Mazda engine Camel Light car.
And that car of Downing's is currently third in the Camel Light. It is still car number 6 leading in that category. Charles Morgan from Conway, Arkansas, and Bill Alsop from Woodstock, Vermont, leading in the Camel Light Series. The second place car is Young and Jeff Klein, and Jim Downing is maintaining the third position.
You say came from Woodstock, Vermont?
Indeed he is. Green Mountaineer.
There we see the leader. He doesn't come from Woodstock, Vermont. He comes from Germany, a very accomplished young man, incredibly good looking, looks like a racing driver should look. And just right now he's doing
what a racing driver look.
Well, he should look like Derek Bell, I suppose, nauseating. And he's Klaus Ludwig's about the same, pretty nauseating.
31 of 183 laps complete.
But he keeps on putting his wheel on the infield there. I don't understand it. I'm sure he doesn't have to do it unless the handling calls for him to cut that corner a bit tight to make the infield there, because that's the sort of thing that can knock the edge off the rim of the wheel, let the tire down, and then of course you lose the race. There's the number 10 car that we saw spinning earlier on, just coming in for a brief check, I guess. Maybe he had a flat tire. Maybe that's why he spun. Yes, they're going to the left front. They're going to change the left front tire.
The number 10
and
car,
the left rear.
Jimmy Leeward, an aviator who still plans to set some records in aviation with a P-51 Mustang before this year is over. This car number 10 now lying down there on pit road. And here we are back with the leader another time as we work the 32nd lap. Klaus Ludwig in first, Holbert in second, Redmond Haywood the combination for third, and the other Jaguar backs him up. Bob Tullius in the 44, then Halsmer and Morton. The BF Goodrich Porsche 962 runs fifth. Paul and Adam in the number 45 have run up into sixth. From dead last has come the Jim Adam car, that Buick V6, thundering up through the field and hoping to go the distance of 500 kilometers, 310 miles today. That's all. We have a spinning car just into turn number 1. One of the Leon brothers has looped his car, number 22.
What a surprise.
There he is, lying there just inside of turn number 1, car number 22. And that is the Chevy March, the Leon twins from Texas.
Not a good spot to be at all. Mind you, they're getting good warning from that yellow flag waved by the marshal. The marshalling here, very high standard in the United States. I don't know whether he stalled. There's the Jaguar swooping by, both of them. Oh, he wants a push. Obviously, he must have stalled the car. It looks to me like he might have broken that rear wing, too. It's hard to tell from here, but it looks a bit like that left corner of the rear wing's a bit deranged. He obviously wants a push. He had his hand out the window waving. Obviously, none of the marshals are too keen on getting out the road there and pushing because they know they're just around the corner. People coming into the corner can't see them. There they go now. Give him a hand.
Getting him away, Al Leon, number 22 out of Texas. We'll be back with more of the Charlotte Grand Prix from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina, live on the Superstation after these messages. Hey, live on Superstation WTVS, you're watching the Ford Probe, probing this 500-kilometer race for the first victory for this ultimate prototype sports racing car. Klaus Ludwig of Bonn, Germany is in front. Porsches are running in the second and now in the fifth positions. The Jaguars are running in third and fourth. Their big V12s rolling right along. Here is car number 45. That is that Buick that went all the way to dead last, making up time. Adam in the Buick March is up into sixth position. Car number 45 as it continues to charge, and it is closing at this time on Hosmer and car number 68, the BF Goodrich car. There could be a challenge for fifth position in the next few laps.
There we see young Bill Hamilton, Bill Adam from Hamilton, Ontario. He's a very good driver. They often put him in the car first because he's slightly more conservative than John Paul, and obviously the thing of this car and team is to try and finish a race, as is the car we see in the picture there, the number 7 Ford Probe, which is desperate to finish a race, let alone win one.
To Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
Again, as we work the mid-30 lap range here in a 138 lap race, we should be coming up on the first of the scheduled pit stops, and among the leaders, our information is that the fifth place car will probably be the first in. We're expecting an early driver change as Pete Halsmer comes out and John Morton goes into the number 68 machine. Look for the leading Ford Probe to stop on about lap 40, so they should be the second car in. Strategy-wise, we're looking for a charge from the two BFG Porsches. They're both running very strong. They say they're not running the turbo boost low in order to conserve fuel. They are charging, and they're currently running fifth and down here in seventh position. Likewise, we're looking for a 40-lap range pit stop on the two Jaguars that are currently running fourth and fifth, and the conservative car out there, surprisingly enough, perhaps is in second place. Holbert says they'll try to go the race on one fuel stop. They're currently in second spot with the Probe stopping early. These guys are in the driver's seat for the moment.
In the National Basketball Association, end of period one, Philadelphia is back in it. They're leading Boston 31-16. Philadelphia 31 over the Celtics 16 at the end of period number one in NBA action. We'll update you on that throughout the afternoon. Live, you're watching here on Superstation WTVS, a battle for the lead as car number 14 pulls up and takes a shot. Once again, closing ground is Al Holbert in that number 14 Porsche 962, closing on the Ford, but not getting by on that long back straightaway.
But he has to back off as he goes into the banking. If you watch closely, the back of the Porsche, you see a long flame come out. This is a sign that the guy has lifted his foot, and I don't see the same flame coming out of the 711 car of Klaus Ludwig. It may be that that car is a little bit better suited in that banking, but Al lifted out there. You can see the same effect there as he lifted out going through that corner, and that lost in the lead. He was definitely making a challenge for the lead, but couldn't carry it through on that banking. And I think one of his reasons is being very conservative with his tyres. He just does not want to have a tyre problem on that banking, because at nearly 200 miles an hour, it could be disastrous.
Working the 38th lap here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Ludwig stays in front. Here they are back on the banking once again, and let's see what Al Holbert will do in trying to overtake the Ford Probe. The Jaguar team running third and fourth are just about 30 seconds back from the leader at this time. He's not taking a shot at him this time as they come through the banking.
No, he pulled out quite a bit of a lead on that lap. Maybe Al just had a go, decided he couldn't quite do it, and just decided to play real safe and stay in that second spot. Now, if Al Holbert only has to make one fuel stop, that'll be just incredible in this race. But he seems to have got the lock on fuel consumption on this Porsche engine, and it does make a tremendous difference. A fuel stop costs a lot of time.
4 miles per gallon. Notice on this number 14, that intercooler right up over the top of the car, instead of further back as it is, for instance, on the Aiken car number 5, which is the way they're originally built. That's seems to get the air in a little faster, gets it to the turbocharger, and he says it runs at about 2 degrees centigrade cooler, and he says 1 centigrade, this is Al Holbert, runs at about 10 horsepower more.
Now then, our man in the pits, Dave Despain, was telling us what a charge the BF Goodrich cars are making, and in fact, one of them's just being put a lap down there by the Ford, and Al Holbert's about to do the same to him. Here we see the picture from inside that Goodrich car, which is Jim Busby's car, and he's about to be put a lap down by Al Holbert.
There were many saying this morning that this car, either of the cars, the BF Goodrich team, were real potentials to win before the afternoon was over. This 16-inch tire they have might be the one that could finally bring it off.
Well, it could be, but Goodyear have got years and years of experience in making racing tires, and I think on a banked circuit like this, you need to have the best tires you've got available, and maybe the Goodrich cars aren't quite there yet, but that's a good shot from inside that car of Jim Busby's, and we see Al Holbert just about to not nail him in the infield, but trying hard to. There you see those flames, those telltale flames coming out the back of those turbocharged cars. Oh, there's a spin. There's a spin up in the high bank at the north end. It's the number 10 Chevrolet March. We've already seen it in the pits once.
Jimmy Leeward's car has spun and come to rest just coming out of turn number 4 of the Super Speedway.
Now this will bring the caution flag out that Bill Adams so desperately needs to fetch that 45 seconds back. There we see Jimmy Leeward sitting in the car. I don't think he'll be hurt, but the car is definitely second hand.
Caution is out around the track for car number 10. This is the Chevy March, the old Bobby Rahal, Jim Truman car. Pace car is coming out. The car that ran at Le Mans and set on the pole back in 1983 at Daytona and Sebring lies in the center of turn number 8 of the road course. Jimmy Leeward having trouble as he tries to break into racing. Well-known aviator, holds some records and wants to go for a couple more. Trying this summer to break the 500-mile-an-hour barrier.
There's the leader coming into the pits. The leader's coming into the pits, but also Bill Adams already been in the pits and is changing driver. And John Paul Jr. is about to go out. Here we see the driver change on the Ford Probe. Are they making the change?
Let's go to the pits.
Ludwig getting out.
Okay, Doc Bundy's getting in the car now. Klaus looks getting out. They're hooking up the hoses. Klaus has got one of those cool helmets on that keeps the driver's head cool. He had to unhook all that paraphernalia to get Doc into the car. We've got to get Doc hooked up to the same paraphernalia because he's suffering from the heat as well. Now Al Holbert's parked just in front of him. Al's in and out, and he's already made his pit stop. Derek Bell did not get in the car, so there's no driver change on Al Holbert's car. He remains in there. Everybody is on pit road now. Both the BFG cars right behind the leading Ford. Doc Bundy getting all strapped up now. They're cleaning the windshield. They made the tire changes. Everything looks to be in order. There's nothing wrong with the car. Everything being locked up. The doors are shut. The engine's on. He's being pushed away there. There he goes.
There you can hear the sound of that little 4-cylinder. This is the Probe is a 4-cylinder inline engine. Popping and banging just a little bit there.
It stopped once and then they fired as they pushed it off.
Because it hasn't got very good torque right at the bottom end like the bigger engines have. There he goes. There goes the 67 car, the Busby car. That, of course, has a flat 6-cylinder engine, so a lot more torque low down.
And with the caution car on the course, a major advantage for this Buick V6 to put it right back up in the hunt again, David.
Absolutely. We missed the pit stop on Bill Adam and John Paul, but they left the pits right behind Al Holbert. And I guess the pace car should, in fact, pick up Holbert as the leader. And it hasn't. Of course, it's picked up the Jaguars as the leader. The Jaguars are now the leaders because they didn't make a stop. There we see the Jaguars right behind the pace car.
That's Bob Tullius's number 44 that stays up in front, and Hurley Haywood in second. Here's Chris Economac.
I'm down here with in the Ford Probe pit. Lee Moore, support team manager, talking to Klaus. Klaus, a nice job out there. That last-minute arrival on the grid, was it any problem for you?
No, not at all. I'm more or less used to that, and I don't think it affects my driving.
And what about the car itself? Is it as ready as you wanted it to be?
Yeah, it should. Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
The car, that last-minute engine change, was everything that had to be done?
Yeah, obviously, because the car was running absolutely fantastic.
Okay, now with the pace that you were set, can you maintain that for the rest of the day?
I could.
Okay, he looks confident. Klaus Ludwig, the man who jumped into the lead at the start and dueled Al Holbert for the lead, seems to be quite happy at this point. Back to you, Ken.
Well, thank you, Chris. They've been averaging 116 miles per hour, which would be a record. Now we have a caution. We'll see what that'll do to that record as we continue our live coverage from Charlotte.
I think he's probably right.
Here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Question on car number 45. The car of John Paul and Adam was on pit road. The Al Holbert car came out. The Jaguars had stayed on the track, and the question is, did the Buick V6 go a lap down? That's the mystery. Scoring still has him in the lead lap. Let's go to Derek Bell, who's standing by with Jerry Garrett.
Derek, we think that you lapped the 45 car when you made your pit stop. Is that right?
I'm positive we did. Yeah, it's just one of those things. We had a good pit stop, and we got out ahead of him. A bit of wheel bashing went on, I think, as they went up the pit lane. But
you say that was a certain amount of relish.
Well, I'm quite delighted, because it means that John Paul's got to go very hard to catch us up, and I know that he can't do that under the circumstances because we have the tire problems the same as he has. But of course, who knows how many more yellows there will be, so it's still a long way to go, but I think it'll be very interesting.
You're taking it easy down here. Do you get a chance to work yet today?
Well, I will get in the car eventually. Don't think I sit here all the time posing like this. I know Hobbs will be delighted to think that I do pose, but generally speaking, I should get back in the car in a while.
Car number 45 is being reported as a lap down. Jerry Garrett, what about that story? They're having tire problems there that Derek Bell just alluded to.
Well, what about the tire problems you alluded to?
Well, yesterday in qualifying, I did about 7 laps at high speed, taking the banking flat out, which is round about, I guess, 200 by the time we come off the banking. It's pretty quick. And when I stopped after about 8 laps, we found about 4 inches right around the whole of the right-hand rear tread had come off. And also the inside edge of the front right wheel had completely blistered and was about to split away as well. So just as well I came in when I did. The car actually stood up to it very well, but of course I don't think I'd have done another lap around the banking at those speeds without having a major problem.
Well, the tires you're running have got to be about the hardest compound they can dig out of the warehouse.
Yes, I don't know quite what I think they were used in the last war, but they really are very hard. And of course we need them for the banking, but the problem is we don't get the handling on the infield, so we have to have a compromise all the time. But we've just elected to go for the hardest possible compound we can run, and that's what we're using, certainly on the right-hand side of the car.
You're sacrificing speed in order to get that durability from the tires. What is the pace you're running?
We're running at about 1 minute 9 seconds, and I know we could run about 1 minute 6, 1 minute 5 if we had to. But of course we don't want to have to do that because the tires won't last. But I'd like to have a go towards the end if I had to run fast. But it's running very well at the moment, and the tire wear we've seen and the temperatures are very good. The wear isn't the problem, it's purely the temperature build-up we get by screaming around that banking. There's so much loading onto the outside rear tires, so much faster than any other car around here, you know, that normally run around here. So of course Goodyear haven't had this problem before, and it's a different sort of banking to Daytona.
Situation that we talked about earlier. The BFG people say after their pit stops that their tires are wearing well, no blistering and no high temperatures. But then you might expect them to say that.
A story from Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center. You've been watching car number 44, and they've made a driver change. Tullius has stepped out. Chip Robinson was in the car. They are coming around for a green flag to get this race resumed. They'll go back on green in the 45th of 138 laps.
Just to allay the fears of the lay public out there, when Derek Bell, of course, is talking about tyres blistering, this is not a problem of manufacture in any way, shape or form. It's just that these banked corners do present a very, very different problem. And the NASCAR guys that race here so regularly on much heavier cars than these, they have to have very special and much taller tyre, and they're a much, much stiffer carcass, but are very poor, of course, to race on a road course. And these cars are designed to run on road courses and not designed to run on this type of banked corner, and it does always lead to some sort of problem.
Al Holbert was saying yesterday that Goodyear developed a tire for here which had a softer sidewall. He said they were hoping to let the driver know if they had a puncture a little earlier with that, but it's created some other problems.
Of course, one of the other beautiful features about the Goodyear tires that are used here in the NASCAR cars is they have an inner tire, so if the outside one does explode, there's an inner one to fall back on. Of course, we don't have those on road racing cars.
We're coming back under green once again with Holbert and Bell's team leading the event. Car number 68 being shown in second, the VF Goodrich car, the Porsche 962 of Halsmer and Morton, with Halsmer now at the keyboards. Then it is Ludwig, car number 7, Klaus Ludwig in the Ford in the 3rd position. Redmond and Haywood in 4th. There is car number 45, which is being reported 1 lap down. He was trapped in the pits, and that car number 14 made sure he kept him there and kept him behind him as he came back on the course.
And John Paul Jr. sliding. Look at that black rubber he's leaving there off that back tire as he swings it through that infield course. He's now going to try and pull back a whole lap on Al Holbert, which is going to be tough going around here, but he's trying hard, as we saw there.
In the Camel Light Series, Morgan and Alsop continue to lead. Jim Downing is running in second, Young and Klein in third. The Mark Pauley car is running in the fourth position.
John Paul Jr. leaving rubber on every one of these corners. He's really putting his foot down, and of course that's all very well. He can go very fast, but how long are the tires going to be able to stand that?
Working the 46th lap, and the probe having to come from behind and attack once again and try to take this one back. Car number 45, you're back with this Buick V6 as it challenges. It's running toward the midway point of the race.
There's the Buick V6, but it's now in second. Al Holbert's shot by it. The Buick's coming into the pit.
Coming down out of turn number 4, and he is coming into the pits. He is coming back on pit road.
Oh dear.
That's too bad.
They have had the worst luck this year that anybody could ever have. I think they're going to change one of those rear tires. I think the reason he was leaving that rubber was probably because one of the tires is flat.
John Paul and Bill Adam. Bill Adam now driving the car. Hopping off the tank again. Changing the right rear, as you see. And this will keep him more than a lap down.
That is the worst possible luck, because they're going to be 2 laps down unless they get that car out of the pits very quickly. Cleaning the windscreen. John Paul must be wondering what the heck he's got to do. And Phil Conti, the team owner, just about in tears. The money and time he spent on that team this year, and they still haven't finished a race, let alone won one. And they've been on the front row of all of them. There he pulls out of the pits again.
But been on the pole time after time.
Absolutely.
Screamer.
Back onto the racetrack.
Of course, Buick up in the front row at Indianapolis this year.
A lot of Buick interest in this car here too. The Buick people here showing a lot of interest, and that goes back to what I said at the top of the show. Major manufacturers are becoming heavily involved in IMSA type racing. There we see the leader, Al Holbert, having a really easy run now around that top banking, the north end banking.
Holbert and Bell continue to lead here at Charlotte, North Carolina in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Running in second place, Hosmer. Going third is the Ford. More from Charlotte shortly. Coverage of the Charlotte Grand Prix is brought to you by the Stroh Brewery Company, brewers of Stroh's, Old Milwaukee, and other fine beers. At the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it continues to be Holbert and Bell leading the event. Let's go to the pits with Jerry Garrett.
We've got Pete Halsmer here, and you've just come out of the 67 car for your stint. Now, how is the car for you?
68 car, but that's all right. Really, it's working pretty good. It's pretty warm out there, and that's a bit of the problem, and the track's getting pretty greasy. It's breaking up just as you go onto the bank, and you've really got to be careful with it there. But all in all, things are working pretty good. We're pretty happy.
Now, you've got something else on your mind today. You're third on the bump list at Indy. You've qualified for the Indy 500. Has that gone your mind at all?
It hasn't been. I'll tell you, you don't have any time to think about it when you're out there driving. We get in that Goodrich car. We're just concerned about running that thing fast. I'll worry about that after this race is over.
Well, he hopes he keeps a spot in the Indy 500 while he's here today.
The BF Goodrich car, number 67, going a lap down to the Al Holbert, number 14. That Porsche 962 unwinds itself, unravels itself from some lap traffic, and moves back once again out well into the lead. Now here you are inside of the Busby car. Number 67, that is the 5th place car overall in the field, and is running 1 lap down as they work the 49th of 138 laps.
It's a pretty good scrap on the road. Of course, unfortunately, I'm sure that Jim Busby wishes he wasn't a lap down on that car there, the number 14 Al Holbert, Derek Bell car. We have yet to see Derek drive it, but they're all having a good race, and there back in 3rd spot is the Probe, now driven by the American Doc Bundy.
And he is 2nd overall. That's a lap car sandwiched in between them. The number 7 car right there is running 2nd, just a few car lengths back from the leader. And it has been a dogfight throughout the Charlotte Grand Prix between these two. The Ford Probe now trying to dart around Busby's number 67 and close up on number 14 another time.
Because Doc Bundy may not realize that 67's a lap down. It's hard for a driver to know exactly where he is. He's probably got some information, but there we see the 04 Jaguar. Brian Redmond at the wheel now. He's snapping at the heels of the number 68 car with Morton at the wheel now.
Headed for that 1,300-foot backstretch.
I'll tell you what, Hobbs, you call it a good little scrap on the road. I'd call this a Southern-style, Grand National Stock Car-style dogfight here at Charlotte. Next Sunday, we're coming back here, of course, with the World 600 and that big story. But in this kind of racing, endurance racing, a lot of times a half a lap is a close margin. You got 4 cars running right there in a pack. That second-place man a lap down. If he can get around Holbert, get that lap back, could pick up a yellow flag, get back on the lead lap. This is doggone good racing, and the fans are loving it.
in front. Here he comes back to the infield portion of the course, and here comes Ludwig trying to deal with Busby in the second position, and there's the 04 running in the third position. Hurley Haywood is now in number 04, maintaining third, and the front three cars about a second and a half apart. Is he switching with Brian Redmond in?
Brian got in the car, and Brian actually has got a very strange injury. When he was going through the banking in practice the day before yesterday, he suddenly felt a sharp pain like a knife and apparently separated the cartilage from his bottom rib. So he's out there now struggling around in this very tight fight, as David Spain has pointed out. Look, there he goes there just into the picture, a tremendous scrap. So we don't know what pain though Brian's feeling in that 04 Jaguar.
Redmond now taking over in the 04 from Hurley Haywood and maintaining the third position.
Down the backstretch one ball.
In the Camel Light competition, they're reporting Jim Downing. And Mafucci, number 63, has come up in front at this point, and that has dropped the Alsop car back to the third position. Marsh Pauly running second. There's number 3 off the course in serious trouble. One of the Buick cars.
Ken Madron, Wayne Pickering car. I'm not sure who's driving this at the moment.
The Royal Crown car in trouble. Number 3 just lies here in the infield portion of the course with 51 laps complete as they work the 52nd. This Buick March retires from the event.
Well, he's right in a very dodgy spot too. It's Ken Madron looks like he's driving at the moment. He's right on the apex of that corner just before they went onto the banking. So he's not in a really good spot to be. And I'm sure the marshals will want to get that car moved out of there as soon as possible.
Let's go to Chris Economac.
I'm with Jim Busby, the team captain of the B.F. Goodrich crew. Jim, there seems to be talk about the heat and the speed and the tires not being able to match the speed of the cars in the banking. And I notice your uniform here. Is that off the tires, those black spots and everything? Is getting you in the car?
You know, I think actually it's a combination of things, Chris. This is what you see on my uniform here is actually the track surface. These cars are so fast that they're literally pulling pieces out of the pavement. The ground effects combined with the downforce and the wide tires are actually pulling small pieces of pavement up, distributing it across the road, and if you get slightly off the line, then you're in what we call the marbles, and you wind up with a real skatey car. Also, I think some of the cars up and down pit lane are having some tire blistering problems. We are not having that problem, although we are skating on the marbles pretty bad. So it may very well be that some of the cars have tires that are generating just a little bit more grip than we are, and consequently creating more heat and blistering. Our tires right now seem to be real reliable, although they are a little skating.
Why so many marbles here, Jim?
It may very well be that when you use an oval and combine it with a road course, the road course is used less. Possibly also adding to that is the fact that these cars are so incredibly fast and generate so much more traction than, say, a Grand National car in the banking, that we actually are lifting with the suction at the bottom of our cars, actually pulling the pavement up to us rather than the cars going down to the pavement.
Can you at the wheel feel, we hear the expression in oval track racing, the tires going away. What does that do? What do you feel when that happens?
Well, what you feel is, it's a very simple process. What happens is that the compound of the rubber gets a lot hotter than it works efficiently, and it becomes a little too soft and starts giving up grip. The feeling that you get when it goes away is you have to have a little bit more steering to get it into the corner, and then if you get loose, if the back end comes around on you, then a little more steering to correct it. So essentially all it's doing really is the heat in the tire is causing it to have a little less traction on the surface.
Thank you very much, Jim, and let's now go to Dave Despain.
We've got an interesting heat story here, too. Heat takes its toll on tires. It also takes its toll on drivers. We've talked about cool suits that keep these drivers cool under the hot conditions here at Charlotte. Here are a couple of guys who decided to run this race without cool suits. Jim Downing, John Mafucci in the Camel Light race. These cars have a 700-kilogram limit, and in order to meet the weight limit, these guys can't afford a cool suit. They got to drive without one because of the weight. Nonetheless, they have moved into the lead in the Camel Light division. It's a real Iron Man story. They've currently got a lap on the second-place car, and they are running one lap down to the leader in the bigger GTP division. Good run, good story for Jim Downing and John Mafucci.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. There is the Jim Downing car, which is leading that Camel Light Series. Car number 7 has now moved around the number 65 car, put him a lap back. Rick Knoop now driving in the Jim Busby car, and number 7, the Ludwig car, is closing up and challenging for the lead, and the Jaguar, the 3 wide, as they go down into turn number 1, the Jaguar beginning to show, and they are moving on a lap car as they go out of turn number 1. That's the Jag trying for the lead,
taking the lead. The Jaguar being driven by Brian Redmond, showing some of that flair that he won 16 World Endurance races with over the last 15 years. What a tremendous driver, and driving just like a 15-year-old, pushing himself to the limit. 48, 49-year-old driver, and he whistled around those cars on the outside, just kept his foot right in it. Al Holbert will have to be thinking again now, because the Jaguar does have better fuel consumption than Al Holbert. This is for sure.
It's Holbert lying second, and there is Brian Redmond. Brian Redmond now in the lead as they go up to the banking, and back to third goes the Ford. Redmond out of 2 years of retirement. After a scrape at Daytona, thought that he had lost his touch and elected to leave motorsports, and now is back, and he's never looked better than right there.
Well, he sure looked pretty good to me there. What a fantastic move, and he had made one the lap before on the Busby Knoop car as well. He'd gone around the outside of it on one of the corners, and boy, he's driving extremely well this afternoon.
16-year veteran. 8 series championships have been scored by Brian Redmond, now out in front. Of course, he won the Miami Grand Prix 1984, and his record is one of the all-time greats in sports car racing. 74, 5, and 6, the Formula 5000 champion, 21, 52 of 60 races, Dave.
That's almost as good as me. Definitely pulling away now from the field. You can't help but feel that Holbert's still got more power in hand, and he may have got a lot of boost to turn in there yet. But Brian at the moment showing the way these guys the way around.
So there you see the battle for that second position as Redmond continues to lead. Brian Redmond has put the 12-cylinder XJR5 Jaguar into first place. Can he stay there for the finish of the Charlotte Grand Prix? Brian Redmond and Hurley Haywood combined to win Atlanta in 1955 in the International Motorsports Association. Now in the Charlotte Grand Prix, once again they have put the V12 Jaguar into first position. The Ford Probe in its second appearance has come back to second place. Al Holbert's car has now fallen into the third position. But there's the car that everyone is talking about. His last lap was an unofficial 121 mile per hour clocking of this 2.2 mile track, and this is well into the race. That's like a qualifying time, David Hobbs.
It certainly is, and that's as quick, almost as quick as they went the whole weekend. It's not as quick as the Porsches went in qualifying, but it's a tremendous lap speed. Al Holbert's dropped back to third. Almost looks like he's going to drop back into the clutch in the 67. There we see the Probe just going. Here's Al Holbert coming around turn 1. There we see the 67 car. Back to the Jaguar in the lead. The Probe made a lot of ground there. Doc Bundy, who drove the Jaguars last year, now driving for the factory Ford team in this Mustang, making ground up on Brian Redmond. Now this looks like settling down to be a heck of a scrap for the lead.
Doc Bundy drove with Redmond a year ago when they won Miami as a team. There's that number 14 that was the odds-on favorite to win it all today. Al Holbert still at that 962 steering wheel trying to make up some time, but the big surprise, the 12-cylinder Jaguar, which many people discounted for not working with his long straightaway, 1,500 feet of the back straightaway, the 24-degree banking. Redmond has put it out in front, and the Ford Probe stays in second spot. There you see them running 1 and 2.
The Jaguar seems to extend its lead slightly down the back straight. But through this banking here, the Probe has been consistently quick all day. Can he make any ground up on the Jag? No, not a lot.
Halftime in the NBA this afternoon. It's 60-44. Philadelphia is leading Boston. Let's go to Jerry Garrett.
We're in the pits right now with Bob Tullius, the team leader on Group 44. The Jaguars really seem to be growling today, Bob.
Well, they're looking fine so far. Brian just put the 04 car in the lead, and I'm sure Chip is going to be working himself back up there. The car worked very well for me, and I see no reason why Chip can't be right back up there.
Everybody talks about pace in this race. Brian just ran a 109. That's pretty stiff pace.
Well, we can run our qualifying times rather consistently. The turbocharged cars have a great deal of difficulty in doing that, and the BF Goodrich cars have a tough time with their tires. But other than that, the race looks very competitive. The last fuel stop will make a big difference because the turbocharged cars will then turn up the boost, and they'll be running some 109s too, I'm afraid.
In addition to those other advantages, you do have a fuel advantage too.
Well, the cars get rather good mileage, and that should make a big difference. But on a track where you got to make 2 stops anyhow, it really doesn't make that
that much difference. Okay, well, let's go to Dave Despain in the Pit Communication Center.
Our friend Mr. Tullius has been building fast cats for a long time. The names Tullius and Jaguar are pretty much synonymous. That car currently running in fourth. His co-driver, Chip Robinson, is second in the series standings. And old man Redmond in their sister car running right up on top of the stack here. It's a great day for the Jaguars, and it's a great day for Bob Tullius and his Group 44 team, which is an American racing legend.
Race, of course, being led at the moment by an Englishman. Say no more.
I really didn't have any expectation for it in 1962 when it started, and I didn't know where it was going. One of the problems with that is there was no precedent for it. In those days, it was all hobby racing, and even Indianapolis was hobby racing for the most part, and certainly Grand National racing was not the sport it is today. So I had no vision because I wasn't certain what it could do or where it could go.
Tullius, an ex-Marine, has won 5 national championships himself, and cars from his stable have claimed 14 more. Group 44 provides a yardstick by which racing efforts are measured. And one of the secrets of success is teamwork.
Well, in the early days, it was just myself, of course, and then Brian Furstenau came along, who was my partner, and Lanky Fouchy, who is now my crew chief, has been with me 16 years, and along with lots of other people in the interim, it was an enormous amount of hard work. And I can remember sleeping on a chaise lounge in my shop.
On behalf of the corner workers,
I can remember sleeping on top of some cases of oil and doing the things that all businesses do when they really are starting and are dedicated to what they're doing.
Tullius' latest achievement is the XJR5 prototype, a space-age Jaguar, a reflection of its hard-nosed creator as he looks to the future.
Our near-term goals are to be successful here in IMSA and be successful at Le Mans. Our long-term goals are to, again, continue in this business, and survival is difficult.
Right now, the Jaguar is surviving and doing very nicely, thank you. There you see the advantage it has over the Ford Probe that Doc Bundy is now driving. Brian Redmond is the leader in the Charlotte Grand Prix, which you are watching live on the Superstation WTBS with 61 of 138 laps complete. David, I would think this would be considered an upset if the Jaguar can hold on and win here today.
Well, it would be an upset here, which is strictly a power circuit. You have a huge long straightaway, and for the Jaguars to win here would be a great feather in their cap. One thing that Bob Tullius said about the fuel, although they will have to make 2 stops, there's a good chance that the Jaguar's second stop will be a shorter one, because they probably won't have to fill it up, whereas the turbo cars are likely to have to fill the tank, which will take longer.
Doc Bundy closes up on the man with whom he teamed a year ago to win the Miami Grand Prix. Here they are, now here at the midpoint of the race, getting down to decision time in this prototype competition. And 04 stays barely in front. Brian Redmond, the XJR5, leading Doc Bundy in the Ford Probe, with the 3rd place now belonging to Al Holbert. In 4th is the Tullius car, and then in the 5th position it is the Busby Knoop car. Rick Knoop is now driving the B.F. Goodrich car. In 6th is the team car, and it's Morton driving that car. Both of the B.F. Goodrich cars are 1 lap down. Up into the 7th position moves the Aiken car. In the 8th position, Hagan and Baird, and in the 9th position, Paul and Adam, the Buick March. The Shelton car is running 10th overall in the field.
And there we see the Jaguar leading into the turn 1, but behind him there's been a position change as Al Holbert has managed to take away 2nd place from Doc Bundy. But there we see Brian Redmond swooping through the infield, a beautiful looking cat. See how steady it is, not leaving any rubber.
There you see the battle for 2nd place, and it is now Al Holbert in 2nd, and the Ford drops back to 3rd in this amazing contest. More from Charlotte live in a moment. 7.7 miles per hour, better than 3 miles an hour over the course record. Brian Redmond keeps the Jaguar in 1st place over Al Holbert in a Porsche 962
big spin on the front straight.
And a big spin going down into turn number 1 is collecting another car. It is the Aiken car, which is crashing as he was collected by
John Paul.
John Paul, I believe, is that car that came spinning down through the grass, crashed into the side of car number 5, is putting right up on the barrier.
John Paul nudged the back marker, passing him down here, got himself out of shape, spun across turn 1 and nailed poor old Bob Aiken just as he was going through the corner. How horrible.
The Aiken car, number 5, was being driven by its owner, the man who introduced 962s to this country a year ago, and what an unfortunate thing for Aiken.
He's getting out. He's okay. Boy, he's a lucky man. That car was hit very, very hard, and then he ran head-on into that tire barrier. Thank goodness for the tire barrier.
He had absolutely no knowledge of what was coming up on the left flank and right into the side of his car and slammed it into the wall, and now lying down at the exit of pit road onto the super speedway. There you see number 45, and it's all over, and bad luck continues to badger the Paul Buick March. What an unfortunate day for John Paul.
Yeah,
you can only wish him well at Indy next week. He'll start 21st at Indianapolis, and there is Aiken out of his car.
Looks like he's okay. He's swinging that low his legs to be okay. Obviously, they're the most vulnerable thing in a crash like that. Boy, he'll be an upset man because that's cost him a lot of money.
Replay. Let's take a look at what happened here. There is the John Paul car out of control, snapping into the side of car number 5, and then head on into that concrete barrier. Those tires lifting it up a little, giving it just a little bit of an advantage. They're about 2 deep, those tires, and that
they need to be.
May have saved his legs in that terrible crash.
What an unfortunate thing, but it's the old story. The car of John Paul got down a little bit on the laps, and with a bad pit stop and a couple of other things, and he was trying to make time, and he came to a position where he was passing one of the Jaguars, and they got to a back marker, and he just nudged the back marker, which put him off the road, and of course we could see the result on the replay.
Bob Aiken of Ossining, New York, his car eliminated. Have been breaking up in the 7th and 8th position here of recent. And we see the leaders pitting. I think, do we have a full caution out around the track, David?
Yeah, we should have. The pace car is out. Yes, there's the pace car on the backstretch, and there's Al Holbert, who's just gone out of the pits. I suspect that now Derek Bell is in the car, and they'll probably be able to finish the race at this juncture.
Pace car is in the back straightaway. Pace car is in the back straightaway, picking up the field after a serious crash. Both drivers able to climb out of their cars under their own power. You saw Bob Aiken walking away from his machine, first at Sebring in '83 and also back in '79, and at Watkins Glen in '79, and a 4th at Le Mans a year ago. But here today in the Charlotte Grand Prix, victim of a bad crash at turn number 1.
Now I should think we'll have a full caution here.
Full caution is on the track, David, and we'll be back with more from Charlotte in cars in the lead lap as they group and prepare for the start. Pace car is coming in, down onto pit road. Lead car, Brian Redmond, and the 12-cylinder Jaguar comes to life. The Ford Probe pulls up. Sometimes those 962s with only a single spark plug per cylinder have trouble getting back up to speed after a lengthy time under caution. Jaguar pulling away in front, and there you see the Probe in the 2nd position.
Yes, the Porsche engine has a very nasty habit of what they call loading up after running for a long time, and when you gas it, it just won't have it. It just won't run properly for maybe half a lap. And of course, Derek Bell, if he's feeling any of that, he's right at the back of the field, having had that pit stop.
72 laps are now complete. Let's go down to pit road and find out about that car number 14.
Okay, I'm here with Al Holbert. Al, the Jaguar tell me they're not going to make another pit stop until a good ways along, and that'll be their last one. What's the fuel supply story with you guys?
We're doing real good, and that's why we were running fairly slowly at the beginning to see if we could match what we saw in practice, which was nearly halfway. So I think we can go the rest of the way.
With what you have on board now?
Yeah, and if we can, it won't be much.
So does this mean that Derek is operating at less than the maximum performance?
Yeah, plus my problem was after the caution, I had a tremendous throttle stick problem. So I just couldn't drive it in the infield. I had to coast through the corners because I couldn't accelerate through them because I didn't know when it would, how far it would stick. So, you know, we elected to come in early and try to fix that. I don't know if it's fixed.
I was just going to ask you if it got fixed. Did they spend much time working on it?
Well, they fixed it really quickly, you know, inside of a caution lap, so we didn't lose a lap, and time will tell how quickly Derek goes.
Oh, thanks very much, Al. Back to you, Ken.
Oh, thank you, Chris. We've got a good race going up here, and up in front is that car number 7, who's having his hands full with number 04 as they've been dicing back and forth. It was the number 7 car being driven by Doc Mundy. Went out in front of the 12-cylinder Jaguar, and for a moment it looked like we were going to take the 2 leaders out there, Hobbs.
Now Al Holbert, going on his comments, apart from this fantastic dice up front now, he's a real peachy co-driver, isn't he? Throttle stick, so what does he do? Gives it to the co-driver. Great. I don't know whether the throttle's still sticking there, but just have a go and see. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the Probe shot ahead of the Jaguar on that incredible overtaking maneuver on the infield and has pulled out quite a bit of daylight as they come down the front stretch here to cross the stripe for the 73rd time. If they can go the end of the race on that Porsche, they're doing pretty damn well on gasoline.
Tullius and Robinson in the third spot. Chip Robinson now driving. Derek Bell in the fourth position with that number 14 car. There you see the leader, Doc Bundy, taking over and has high hopes of bringing that one home today.
There's the Camel Light battle going on. That's the Jim Downing car, the Mazda engine Argo up the front of that class, being very closely followed by the number 6 car, trying to get back into the lead of that class. Pretty hairy looking race going on here for this Camel Light Championship, which is a championship run within the championship. We see these cars streak through the infield, almost as quick in the infield as the big car.
Here's your leader once again, car number 7. That's the Bundy car there, and right behind him comes Brian Redmond as they scream through the 24-degree banking in our live coverage here on Superstation WTBS. The Ford Probe pulls away a bit as it comes off turn number 4 of the Super Speedway. Then under heavy braking at turn number 1, the Jaguar catches him up.
The Jaguar makes up a lot of ground on braking, and the Jaguar actually is a little bit heavier than that Probe. But the Probe has been having trouble with the brakes this weekend, I've heard from the team people. And boy, the old Jaguar wound him in then on braking.
There you see Redmond. Infield portion of the course. Turn 3 is where they are now. Parallel to the back straightaway. Speed about 120, 125 miles per hour here. Slightly uphill into the turn 4 and now into turn 5 area.
Passing that Mazda engine Camel Light car, rather strange looking device. Looks like a sort of short track car.
15, and it is a short track car.
Yeah.
It was built on a stock car chassis. OBS. They built that car for $15,000 and been out running all day up here.
Meanwhile, the lead is stretching out quite a lead on their pack, the following pack, which is the 2 Goodrich cars and the second Jaguar, which of course in fact is lying third.
4-cylinder versus 12-cylinder here, and as we mentioned to you earlier, these are the 2 drivers that were teamed together when they won Miami a year ago. Here they are back into turn number 1 as opponents today. Doc Bundy still in the lead, but here comes that Jaguar nipping away another time, clawing, trying to get back up on the top of the Doc Bundy Ford Probe. The third position car, number 14, lies 3.5 seconds back, Derek Bell.
10.5 seconds back. I think that his co-driver has dropped him in it, as they say, because his throttle must be sticking. I noticed him braking early here as these 2 cars are battling for the lead. Derek is losing ground on this dynamic duo up front. Look at old Derek giving Brian giving Doc Bundy a hard time there in the infield. The Bundy car is just a little bit forward, just a little bit quicker down the back straight. But the Jaguar quicker right here as it comes onto the straight.
Point out to you that the Tullius Robinson, number 44, is third, and that the Holbert Bell car is fourth. 10 seconds off the lead. And the 5th spot is the 67 car, the BF Goodrich car of Busby and Duke, the 6th position Halsman and Morton car, and then in 7th, the Shelton brothers, and Jim Truman and Ludwig Heimarth have brought their Ford Elba up into 8th. Now, the Camel Light cars are beginning to show on the board. Leading in Camel Light is Jim Downing's number 63, and he's 9th overall. The Bill Alsop car has come up into 10th, Morgan and Alsop.
Well, they're going very well. That Morgan Alsop car, as you say, was a GTP car last year. They elected to put a smaller engine in it this year and run it in the Camel Light class, and going very, very strongly this afternoon.
So the Ford stays out in front. The Jaguars running in the 2nd and 3rd position. And then it's Porsche running 4th, 5th, and 6th. More from Charlotte shortly. Continuing live coverage of the Charlotte Grand Prix is being brought to you today by Budweiser, the king of beers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. At the Charlotte Grand Prix, there are the leaders, still locked in and well, and you see the Jaguar moving back in to try to take that lead away another time. car number 7 staying in front is the Doc Bundy car, and right behind him comes Brian Redmond, and it has been a war all day for the lead. Now it's a 4-cylinder turbo versus a 12-cylinder automobile. A little bobble there, David.
Yeah, the Jaguar using that terrific low-down power it's got, turning tightly there, gives the old tail a bit of a shake, and as they stretch out down the back straight, the probe is just a little bit quicker.
Let's go to Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
Ken, in stock car racing, there's so much talk about manufacturer and brand rivalry. That's one of the big keys to NASCAR competition. And it's one of the big objectives that IMSA has, to entice more manufacturers to come in. And look what we've got here. A brand new Ford team that was dogged with problems last year, couldn't make their prototype run. They come here with a new car, change engines just 5 minutes before the race. They finish the task and set it up in the front of the field in a great battle among 4 cars. Behind them, 2 Jaguars. They've been solid IMSA competitors for years. They're running 2nd and 3rd. They're considered the underdogs here on what's supposed to be a high horsepower flat-out track. And the Porsches, which worldwide dominate endurance racing, well, their best effort right now back in the 4th spot. It's a fascinating situation with 3 different brands involved. And I guarantee you that here in Charlotte, the heart of stock car competition, all the banks in town wouldn't hold the money the manufacturers are spending here. Ken?
Here, David Hobbs, and what a battle this has been all day.
Well, of course, Dave Despain has put his finger on the pulse. The manufacturer involvement in IMSA is tremendous, not only from the car manufacturers like these people here, Jaguar, but Ford, Buick, Chevrolet and BMW are rumored to be coming. We've got 4 major tire manufacturers. Whoa!
The Jaguar in trouble leading the event.
Just touched the wall there as the Dave White Porsche 935 failed to give him room on the banking. Again, this is one of those things in the drivers' meeting. Everybody was told in the slower cars to stay in the low line, but the probe coming into the pits. The Ford probe coming into the pits.
Just passed moments ago by 04, and now car number 7 is on pit road. Doc Bundy eases down onto pit road. Something is amiss. Unscheduled stop here, David. 81 laps into the race.
Well, it certainly looks like it. Rushing to change. That's interesting. Well, maybe they feel they can go from now to the end of the race then. But Doc Bundy certainly had a short stint and was doing all that could be asked of anybody during that stint.
Bundy out, Klaus Ludwig back in once again in the Ford probe, and Brian Redmond gets a little breathing room in the lead. The Holbert Bell car goes into 2nd place.
It seems strange that they wouldn't have had that pit stop during that last long caution, which wasn't so many laps ago. Because a green stop like this, when you change the drivers and change the tires, just like NASCAR racing, a green stop is the worst stop you can possibly make.
Well, in our live coverage, we'll try to give you the story on what is happening here with the Ford probe.
They thought they're going to have worse fuel consumption in the Porsche, and if this is the case, obviously it seems to be considerably worse. Al Holbert thinking that they can go to the end of the race from now, and it won't stop.
2.1-liter engine trying to kick over. Probe trying to come out. Klaus Ludwig of Bonn, Germany, in the Mustang probe, trying to get it fired. The car that has been challenging for the lead all day.
Oh, fire underneath it now. Yep, it's on fire.
Only its 2nd performance, and it is in serious trouble. Fire now all around the car, and Klaus Ludwig clambering out. Onboard extinguishers released on car number 7. And it doesn't look like it's going to be...
Oh, it's really going now again.
Let's go to Chris Economaki.
And here alongside the car, Klaus Ludwig, and it looks as though that thing will not give up. Ludwig is throwing his gloves in his helmet. He's really upset, walking by us here, walking away from the car. Klaus, what went on fire? How did it start?
I don't know. Something in the fuel system. I don't know.
It wouldn't. The engine wouldn't start over in the pit. No.
No fuel pressure.
Okay. He looks very. So we're standing in a cloud of smoke here. We can hardly see one another. The smoke is so dense. I'm going to have to give it to somebody else right now.
There are the end of the Ford aspirations here in the Charlotte Grand Prix. The probe in serious trouble, on fire, and it just refuses to go out.
I guess what happened was that failing to start it finally backfired, set fire to the fuel under the hood, and of course with a turbocharged engine you have tremendously high under hood temperatures, and it finally caught the whole thing on fire. What a disappointment! The Ford and the Buick both out through really slightly unfortunate causes, and these teams just have the worst luck.
83 laps have been completed. The Ford probe, which had running for the lead throughout the day, right from the very start, is now being rolled back and will be a DNF and did not finish in this Charlotte Grand Prix, which you're watching live.
Hey, I'm down here with our camera crew as the crew wheels that 7-Eleven Ford back. It's a tough break. The car was cost millions of dollars to design and build, and this was supposed to be where it really went. And one little backfire, just a backfire, caused all this damage. It's really a tough break for the Ford people. Klaus Ludwig and Doc Bunning drove so hard today. Back to you.
Further indication of what might have caused this problem, Ken. Apparently, when Ludwig stalled on the backstretch and came slowly into the pits, the indication is that a fuel line perhaps broke or came loose. That's what caused the fuel pressure, and it's also what let the fuel into the system. And then in trying to restart the car, I checked out when Bundy came in, that was what caused the fire. It was apparently a rupture in the fuel system somewhere on the racetrack that started the problem, and now we've got another problem for the BF Goodrich machine.
That's the Busby car, number 67, now being driven by Rick Knoop. He is spun from the in-car camera. You now see him coming back on the course out of the grass. The car is running 5th overall on the field, but what a terrible day for the Michael Krenifus team at Ford. That mid-engine car, which had shown such a stout heart, having trouble here, catching on fire on pit road, had to change a motor at the last moment. They had their hearts in their throats all during the morning as they tried to change the motor and get out here for the start, and made it by a matter of a minute or two to the line, then went out in front, and they have fought with everyone all day, with Al Holbert and with the Jaguars for supremacy in this event, now to have this happen.
Well, of course, that just could be the legacy of that last-minute engine change. And there we see the Jaguar of Brian Redman with about an 11-second lead now over the Holbert Bell Porsche. Derek Bell driving the moment. Brian using up most of the road there as he streaks around this track, trying to get his second win in the 1985 IMSA Championship. The car looking very smooth, not leaving any rubber. I do think Derek Bell has got a sticky throttle problem. He's braking early for some of the corners, and of course a sticking throttle is guaranteed to make you want to do that. There we see him going up onto the bank. The bodywork looks sort of a little bit flexible, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. Yeah. Right rear looks like there's something to miss on the lead car, number 04 of Brian Redman and Hurley Haywood. Stay tuned as we follow the story of Jaguar trying to win the second IMSA race, the Charlotte Grand Prix of 1985 for this team. A moment ago, as it was going down into turn number 3 of the Super Speedway with an apparent turbo problem on that 962, and the 4th place car overall in the race in trouble. Another late report, Chris Economaki of the National Speed Sport News is reporting that the throttle seems to be okay on car number 14.
Well, so much for my expert analogy, but it's dropping back from the Jaguar. He's gradually losing ground on Brian Redman. He's now 13 seconds behind, nearly 14 seconds behind. That car's obviously either had turbo failure or a piston's burn, both of which give signs similar to what we just saw as he returned to the pit.
Bodywork going back on the 962 of number 68 and getting ready to come back out is this car. They're still working on it. Meanwhile, there's that OVS car, number 34, about to be overlapped another time by 04. Brian Redman going for his second win of the season for Team Jaguar. Here he is up on the banking, Group 44 with this car, and what a great moment for him it is as Holbert and Bell are lying better than 10 seconds back in second place. Tullius and Robinson in the second Jaguar are third overall, and up into 4th place now moves the number 67 BF Goodrich Porsche, and into 5th spot goes Jim Truman and Ludwig Heinrath and their Ford Alba. The 6th spot with the Shelton car, which spun a few moments ago and then continued on its way.
There we see the Busby Knoop car with Rick Knoop at the wheel at the moment, going along in his 4th spot.
Let's take a look at that spin just a moment or two ago here, David. Here is the 67 Busby car.
Ooh, he got nudged. He got nailed by the Jag, obviously caught him unawares, but that's one of the problems. If you're being lapped by a faster car, I mean, it's up to the overtaking driver to not run into you. On the other hand, if you put yourself in front of him and he pushes you off the road, well, that's just your tough luck.
Here's a great story. Gene Felton, so badly injured a year ago, is running this race in a Pontiac Firebird and is now in the 10th position overall in the race, driving just as smooth and just as beautifully as he ever has. Felton is up to 10th overall. Lead car continues to be number 04, Brian Redman for Jaguar, trying to give them the second win of the season as you watch it live on Superstation WTBS this afternoon. Here's Redman out in front. 24-degree banking. Scoots it down to the bottom of the racetrack, drives on the right side of the car, so he's right up against the wall as he comes down into the main straightaway. Winner of 8 series championships, Brian Redmond. Miami Grand Prix in '84 was his with Doc Bundy. This year they've already scored a win at Road Atlanta. The 1977 World Manufacturers Championship was won by this driver for Ferrari, and in '69 and '70 he took that same title for Team Porsche.
Well, he pulled out another 3 seconds there. We see the 05 car. That's the Jim Truman Alba Cosworth. A very potent little car, that. He's either had trouble or a spin. Looks like he's not picking up speed again. Must have got some sort of serious trouble. Not sure who's at the wheel at the moment.
90 of the 138 laps now complete. 90 down. And
big trouble, obviously. It's either Ludwig Heimrath, who's a very talented young man from Canada, famous father, Ludwig Heimrath Sr., and pulled out of the race by the look of things.
Jerry Garrett is standing by in the Jaguar pits.
With Hurley Haywood here, Ken. Hurley, you've been out of the car for a little while, but it seems to be running very well for you.
It's running great. Both of them are running good. I think it was a little bit of luck, but we set them up, and they handle on the infield better than any car out there. The infield is really slippery, and the entrance onto the banking has got the pavement's coming up, and there's a lot of loose pavement up there, so you got to be very, very careful going up. But the cars are working great.
If you get offline, you've really got a problem, I guess.
There's one line around this place, and if you get off of it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Is that why we see so many cars spinning right now, do you think?
Well, yeah, you know, the general instinct is to try to get by a slow car, but you just can't do it. If you get out to pass him on the outside or the inside, you'll run into the marbles and you'll spin out. So you just have to be very, very patient and wait your turn to get around him.
Hurley Haywood, who joined Team Jaguar in 1984, replacing Pat Bedard, and what a great addition he's been. Now there's the leader, that is Redmond, but there's another story developing, and that is that car number 14, the Porsche, and you can see the bodywork a little loose on the right side of that car. Remember that incident earlier with a lap car up on the banking, and the car got squirrely and got loose? I think he may have broken something at that time.
Well, we certainly hope it's not too desperately damaged, but it certainly doesn't look very good on this picture, and there's quite a few laps to go yet in this race. But what's interesting is this car number 14,
that's the story,
is also being wound in by the other Jaguar. Number 44 is only just about 2 seconds behind him now.
Chip Robinson in the second Jaguar is closing rapidly on car number 14. As they enter turn number 1, it's down to about 15, 20 car lengths. Derek Bell trying to hold on for second place. The odds-on favorite to take it all today is now fighting to sustain second from the Jaguar to keep them from a total sweep. And there you see the two of them at turn number 3. Live on Superstation WTBS, the Charlotte Grand Prix. A beautiful day, a packed infield.
Now,
Bell got a little
not the sort of thing you expect to see. Yeah, not the sort of thing you expect to see Superposer do. I mean, this may be Superstation. We have Superposer in the second spot there.
That's what economically would say, some agricultural racing there, Hobbs.
Yeah, perhaps he's got a brake pulling problem or something. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But the Jaguar of Chip Robinson, who's also turned into be an incredibly good GTP driver, is dragging him.
Third period over in the NBA playoffs this afternoon. It's Philadelphia 85 and the Boston Celtics 74. 85-74. Philadelphia leading Boston. Monaco Grand Prix has been completed today. We'll give you the story on that shortly. Let's continue to focus on this battle up front. Here's the leader. It's number 04, Brian Redmond for Team Jaguar in front, trying to score their second win of the season. 10 races left in the championship following today. Next, they move on to Lime Rock, Connecticut on Monday, May the 27th. Then June the 9th, they'll be at Mid-Ohio, Jim Truman's beautiful facility, Mid-Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio. Then July 7th, Watkins Glen, New York for the 3 hours there. July the 28th, they'll be in Portland, Oregon. August 4th at Sears Point, California. August 25th at Road America. Then September 8th, Pocono. Then back to Watkins Glen in September on the 29th. Columbus, Ohio has a road circuit being built, and they'll be there October 5th. They conclude the season with the Daytona 3 hours in November on the Thanksgiving weekend.
There we see the leading Jaguar, and that bodywork does look very, very loose. It doesn't look damaged, but it certainly has got a bad attack of the flaps.
Let's go to Dave Despain.
We've got a good manufacturer battle going on in the Camel Light division today here as a Mazda Argo leads the race. Another one runs third, and sandwiched in the middle, a Buick Regal. Several interesting stories. The Marsh Pauley, number 93, had a broken shifter. Early in the race, fell somewhere down in here in the rundown. They've scrambled back into third and are 13th overall. But the real battle is up here. Currently running 8th and 9th overall, and that's very strong for these Camel Light cars, are Jim Downing and John Mafucci leading the race despite not having the cool suit technology and suffering a bit from the heat. The real story, though, is car number 6. Charlie Morgan with his broken shoulder and Bill Alsop in the Buick Regal. They say they can run down the leaders and win this race hands down, except for one problem, and that is fuel consumption. The first time out, they got 4.7 miles per gallon and thought no problem, 2 stops and were home free. They came in after the second stop and found they were only getting 3.9 miles per gallon, and at that rate, they'd come up short by a lap, so now they have no idea whether they can finish the race on the fuel that they have. If they've got enough gas to go to the end, they know they can win, or at least they think they can win over Downing and Mafucci. If not, who knows? That's the story on the Camel Light division. Now let's go back to pit road and Chris Economaki.
Well, I was just here with Al Holbert a moment ago, and he said, well, stepped away. The question I was going to ask him, and maybe we could just sort of walk over there and get him, was what kind of orders Derek Bell is operating under and that he's losing ground. Al? Al, you got a second here? Here he is here. Talking with one of his team members. He too is apparently concerned about this diminution of position in his number 14 car. We'll have him in just a moment. There's an area of calm here in this pit, and it may well be that they're trying to conserve fuel to get to the checkered flag on the fuel that's on board. Al, we're wondering what kind of orders Derek Bell is racing under because he's losing ground.
He's pretty much under his own. The only orders are the same as they were at the beginning, is to drive without sliding the car around. I think you'll see him start to run a little quicker as the fuel burns off, because we've had a problem abusing the tire when we had a full load of fuel. When he gets down to maybe a half a load, I hope we'll see him go quicker.
What are your feelings right now about the ability to win?
Well, I know the car's quick enough. If Derek can, I know Derek's quick enough if he can get it through by taking care of everything. I think we can win.
Okay, a man of confidence, but not definite confidence. Back to you, Ken.
It's always calm there. Chris was talking about how calm it was down there at Sebring. They lost a wheel, and they fought their way back to second place, and throughout that entire endeavor, Al Holbert never changes that poise. Here he is, watching his car, number 14, now being challenged by the Bob Tullius Jaguar, number 44, Chip Robinson. Here's the leader, 04, that's Brian Redmond. But the battle continues to heat up for second place. The number 14, that is now being driven by Derek Bell, is really feeling a tremendous amount of pressure through the infield portion of the course. There's Brian Redmond, the man who was leading here in the Charlotte Grand Prix, live today on the Superstation. 1,500-foot back straightaway.
Body still flapping rather badly there. Obviously, I hope that it doesn't come off, which would cause him a tremendous amount of grief, and it would take away a very, very strong looking car to win this race. But Al Holbert is lagging a bit behind. He's even further behind than he was before, and Brian's driving so smoothly, and you can see from these pictures just how smooth that car is in the infield, which only reinforces what Hurley Haywood was saying earlier on about it being the best handling car in the infield.
Weren't you and Brian Redmond teammates for some time?
Well, we've raced against each other many, many times, and we've only been teamed together a couple of times. I'm glad to say that on both occasions we won the race. So, yes, we haven't done as much together as I'd like to have done.
Here's Brian Redmond, now out of Jacksonville, Florida, originally from Great Britain, leading the event in this 12-cylinder Jaguar, staying in front and continuing to build on his lead. Meanwhile, Al Holbert's car with Derek Bell driving. Look at that bodywork. Continue to rumble around to the back of the car.
They do flap a bit, those Jags at the back anyway, but not that much, and it doesn't look quite right to me. But there we see Al Holbert in the number 2 spot, and the third car, Chip Robinson, not too far behind him.
Here's your battle for second and third developing. 97 of 138 laps now complete. And it looks like Derek Bell is beginning to get some length. For a while, the Jaguar was pulling right up behind him. Now, as that fuel load begins to lighten up, that may be changing somewhat out here. You see the number 14 running in second place. Al Holbert was telling me he said when you go down into that back straightaway, you say, I'm going into turn 3 flat out. So you say it midway down the back stretch. Then what happens when you get to the turn, you lift about a third. On pit road comes one of the Jaguars, number 44. That is the third place car. Chip Robinson comes on to pit road. There's the lead car, number 04, but the second Jaguar is on pit road at this moment. 44, which had been trying to close in on the Holbert Bell team, is on pit road for its final stop.
I'm pretty sure that's an unscheduled stop because Bob Tullius came jumping over the wall then in case he was needed, but he had the look of a man that wasn't expecting to get over the wall.
Administering to car number 44. Jaguar trying to make it a sweep as they did earlier this year. We'll be checking shortly as to whether or not this is an unscheduled stop. There's no driver change here. You can see Tullius still putting on his gloves, so that was an irregular stop on pit road, and now they're back on pit road, and that is definitely unscheduled for car number 44.
So that puts him just a lap down. Brian Redmond, here he is, 04, is just coming up on that 44 car.
Jaguar continues to lead here today. Brian Redmond stays out in front in our live flag-to-flag coverage of the Charlotte Grand Prix on the Superstation.
Charlotte Motor Speedway, where the Jaguar that's leading this race is making a pit stop right now. This is a scheduled pit stop. And a driver change is coming up. Hurley Haywood is going to relieve Brian Redmond in that car right now. Brian is driving with a torn rib cage ligament. It's very painful for him on the banking. The G-forces are terrific up there. So Hurley, despite the fact that he is driving with a cast on his foot from a broken leg last year, is going to get back in the car and finish the race.
You could see them having trouble with the bodywork, David, as he tried to get that door opened up.
Yeah, but of course the other thing is all these drivers are connected with these cool suits. I think he had a bit of a job unplugging his cool suit. There's Hurley trying to plug his in now. And they really could be doing with being on their way because they finished putting fuel in the car. And this driver change is taking rather a long time.
Jerry Garrett, what about it? Was that other stop on 44? Can you give us a report on what that was all about?
Well, we're with Bob Tullius down here. Bob, was that last stop on number 44 scheduled?
Well, it was and it wasn't. He came in a little bit early, but we were going to have to make another pit stop anyhow. We needed a right rear tire. He felt it was time. It got a little loose up in the bank and felt that it was more comfortable if he'd got a new tire on it. And the fuel, we could go the rest of the way now, but he came a little early, and we're a little concerned about that, but we feel it's okay at this stage.
Now, they're taping up the bodywork on the back of the 04 car. What's the problem there?
I couldn't see what that problem was, and apparently they taped it up on the first stop and just were redoing it again, but apparently there's a Zeus faster came loose or something. The track's very rough in a couple of spots, and getting the bodywork to stay on is very difficult.
You don't think that's a major problem at this point?
I really don't. It's in the back where the airstream will keep it down no matter what happens, and unless there's something unusual occur, it'll be all right.
Well, Ken, the Jaguar still running strong.
Number 14 has now taken over the lead. Number 14 has gone out in front, and we have the possibility of Al Holbert and Derek Bell putting it all together to win today. Redmond and Haywood are running in the second position. The Tullius Robinson car in third. Busby Knoop is in fourth. The Shelton brothers are in fifth. You saw one of the Leon twins car, number 22, out of Dallas, Texas, line off the course, just off turn 2, coming to a halt down there. Meanwhile, car number 14 with those pit stops in the Jaguar is back in front. Holbert and Bell seem to have it going their way at this time, David Hobbs.
Well, they usually do, old Cammy Derrick, but that was a terrible pit stop. It took them forever, and not only did the Bell Holbert car get in front, it took a lap off them. It's a lap in front now. So unless something dramatic happens, that's the Jaguars can kiss this race goodbye.
Long pit stop, something to miss in how they were getting those driver changes made and getting that car reshot on tires and fueled up. Monaco Grand Prix results are in, and at Monaco today, Alain Prost has come home victorious for Team McLaren. Michele Alboreto finished second for Ferrari. Emilio De Angelis, who just won that race at San Marino, and everybody ran out of fuel, finished third. Andre de Crasheris, the year-old Valdez has finished in 4th. Derek Warwick 5th. And the statesman of Formula One racing these days, Jacques Lafitte, finished in the 6th position. Prost winning at Monaco. We'll see the story next week on the Superstations Motor Week Illustrated at 5:35 next Saturday afternoon. The Monaco Grand Prix won by Prost. That's car number 96, looping, coming to a rest down in the infield. Number 96 off the course. Car pulls in, comes to a halt. That is the Tom Hessert car, and Steve Durst out of New Jersey. That's the Harrier.
Another Mazda engined Camel Light car.
That Tom Hessert is the nephew of Dr. Ed Hessert, who was a Grand National racer for many years and passed away a few years ago. Tom Hessert walking away from his Mazda Harrier, British-made car, and it comes to rest down just off the banking. Here's Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
Tom Hessert and Steve Durst may join the attrition list here at the STP Pit Communication Center. They'll check that car out. Latest to join that list is Jim Truman, who had been as high as 8th overall. The Truman-Heimrath entry came into the pits, tried to leave, wouldn't go anywhere. They suspect it's a broken input shaft, or drive shaft, if you will. Truman will be off to Indy now, where he has a car, a Red Roof Inn machine with Bobby Rahal sitting on the front row. The Ludwig Bundy car, the Ford Probe, went to the garage after the big fire, had a shower. They cleaned all the fire extinguisher debris off and said, yes, we're going to get it back into the race. And then they checked it out a little more thoroughly and said, no, we can't. So the Ford entry is out for the day. Ken?
The Porsche 962 of Al Holbert and Derek Bell now leads the event, and they have a one-lap advantage. First time that Bell has been with Holbert since Sebring back in March when they ran to that second place.
That's right, after they had a bit of a first lap fracas, but they did come through in second spot.
They've set this car up to run the banking, the 24-degree north turn of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You always set a car up for the one place where you're going to get the most advantage, and I guess in everyone's mind, that banking was what was going to make the difference here, David.
Well, yes, because it's the longest corner here, and you're going the fastest through it, so if you can pick up a few tenths of a second there, the car travels a lot further distance than what if you pick up a few tenths of a second through one of these slow infield corners, so that's the corner to aim for, and if you can go through there flat out, even better still. But I noticed in the flame out on these cars going into that banking that virtually nobody is in fact going around there flat out.
Al Holbert celebrating his first anniversary with the 962 here at the Charlotte race. A year ago he took delivery from Stuttgart on that first car, and they've won 7 races out of 17 since.
Back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where less than 30 laps remain in the Charlotte Camel GT Grand Prix. Al Holbert still leads this race. Derek Bell driving that car right now, but with me at the moment is Brian Redmond, who is leading for many laps. Brian, you've just gotten out. What was the thing that caused that pit stop to be so long?
Hurley couldn't get the belts passing. That was the main problem.
Now, the belts were about the same size guys, but yes, they didn't have to be adjusted.
We normally don't adjust them. One driver gets in, the other gets out without adjusting them. But today, I must have shrunk because the belt was too tight for Hurley.
Now, they taped up the rear body work on that pit stop. What was the problem with that?
No, I know nothing about it. I don't know, but I touched the wall at 180 miles an hour in the top lane in turn 4 early in my session.
Now, you said at the top of the show that the Porsches were faster, that cats were going to eat them alive. Now, what's your strategy to pull this race out?
We can't do anything. All we can do is go as fast as we can, which is what we've been doing all day. We can't do anything else. If the Porsche doesn't have a problem, it will win. It's faster than we are. That's the story.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jerry Garrett. That was Brian Redmond, who has given the Jaguar fans a lot to cheer for today here at the Charlotte Grand Prix as he put that car through its paces up in front, and he talked about touching the wall at 180 miles an hour. You saw it here earlier today in our live flag-to-flag coverage. As we get down to 30 laps to go, there's the man to watch. It's Derek Bell, the 3-time winner of Le Mans, 1979, 81, and 82. He is now at the command of that 962 for the Al Holbert team, and he is pulling away from the field. He has a lap advantage on Tullius and Robinson in second place, the Redmond Haywood car in third, Busby Knoop in fourth, the Shelton brothers in fifth.
Yeah, he's got about a lap and 20-odd seconds, lap and 25 seconds on the field, so he's in pretty good shape. He can really take care of the car, and maybe, as Al said earlier on, Al Holbert is co-driver, he may be able to get through this race without stopping against the field.
The editor-publisher of the National Speed Sport News, Chris Economaki, ready with this story.
Well, we just talked with Al Holbert about the situation between now and the checkered flag, and lo and behold, they are going to stop again, and with a smile he said just to be on the safe side, which means the Jaguar may still have a chance. That stuck throttle that we talked about earlier today was repaired with the addition of a second throttle return spring. So they've had a little difficulties with that car that took some fixing. It's out running nicely now, but there will be a precautionary fuel stop made between now and the time the day is done. Back to you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Chris. Here's the latest standings from Dover this afternoon. At Dover, Delaware, in the Winston Cup race, Bill Elliott is in front with 350 miles complete. Jeff Bodine is running in second. Kyle Petty is third. Harry Gant is in fourth, and Ricky Rudd is in fifth. Those stock cars come back to Charlotte, North Carolina for the World 600 on the Oval here at Charlotte next Sunday. And, of course, Elliott's going for $2 million if he wins the race. He has $1 million bonus, Hobbs, if he can win here next week.
Yeah, well, before the start of this IMSA race today, the drivers were told to behave in a professional manner in front of a crowd that's used to watching stock car drivers. And I did feel like adding an aside that maybe when they race with the professional money that's given in NASCAR, that might encourage some more professional driving and more professional teams when the whole purse for this race is equal to about half what the winner will get next week. That, unless Bill, of course, wins another $1 million on top of that.
110 laps are now complete here this afternoon. David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire. Along trackside at the STP Pit Center is Dave Despain, Chris Economaki, Jerry Garrett with us this afternoon to bring you the action of the Charlotte Grand Prix. And right now, the 962, one of the most exotic cars ever created, is out in front. The Jaguar still giving chase late in the going. And now the word is that number 14 will make one more pit stop. And depending on the length of that stop, this car, number 44, tagging along a lap down, could have a place to pounce from and jump back into the lead here.
Could do, but
long jump.
Yeah, long jump, because he is now just lapped him. He's a minute and a lap and 25 seconds in front of the second Jaguar. And quite honestly, if they do make a fuel stop, it'll be a quick one. Probably only cost them 45 seconds or so.
Back to Chris Economaki.
Well, they're getting ready now for this fuel stop, but there's also tires being brought out. We've got a stopwatch in hand, and when he stops, you can come back to me and we'll give you a full report on what's being done and how long it all takes.
All right, Chris is standing by as we wait on this stop. Coming up for car number 14 as we get down to the end of this event.
Of course, like Grand National Racing, a pit stop is a lot longer than just the time you see the car in the pits. It's no good putting the stopwatch when it stops and then when it leaves and say, oh, that was great, that was a 10-second stop. There's a long unwind and a very long wind up afterwards, so like a 10-second stop turns into like a 40-second stop.
And it takes longer to wind the 962 than it does anything else here.
Well, probably, yeah, it's ultimate top speed, right.
Were you surprised?
Here he comes
here
now.
Comes number 14 on pit road. Let's go to Chris Economaki standing by in the number 14 pits.
Al Holbert is all suited up. It looks as though he's ready to get in, but whether he will or not is up to Derek Bell. And Bell is signaling with some hand signals here, and Holbert is just standing here, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a driver change. It's right side tires at this point. Bell looks okay, except he looks very hot. His face is covered with sweat. So far, 18 seconds of a lap in the pits here. Car's down and up. He stalled it, and now they're having to push it. And that's what was Klaus Ludwig's 24.6 seconds for that pit stop. And it was that exact problem that caused Klaus Ludwig's Mustang Probe to go up in flames. Derek Bell stalled the car. A quick push by this alert crew when he got it going again. He's back out there, they say, 24.60 seconds the time the car was at rest. Back to you, Ken and David.
Well, 24 seconds isn't going to make much of a dent in his lead, quite honestly, even allowing for stopping and starting. They obviously didn't put much fuel in it, so that I wouldn't think the car will be running full. So, again, to go back to what Al Holbert said earlier about running full and wearing the tyres or making them heat up, he's not going to have that problem. So if he does get pushed, he can always turn the boost up a little bit and go even faster. So, all in all, pretty bad news for the Jaguar fans.
Winner of the 1985 Miami Grand Prix, number 14, trying to win here at Charlotte today. Back goes the 962 onto the south end of the super speedway here. And coming back to full song is car number 14. Getting its throat cleared out after that stop on pit road of less than 30 seconds. And it still maintains its advantage over the Jaguars running in second and third. Busby and Nuke running in fourth with the BF Goodrich 962. And the Jim Downing car has now moved to fifth overall. The Camel Light car, number 63 of Jim Downing, is in fifth. The Alsop car is in sixth. The Shelton brothers still showing in seventh. The Marsh Pauley car is running in eighth. Greenfield and Herlin in ninth. And in 10th is Gene Felton in number 47.
And there we see the battle for 8th place between Shelton in the Chevy March and the third car in the Camel Light. There we see the Pontiac Felton, number 47, the 92 car, the Rusty Jones car, the little Mazda engine car again. And having at it there for 7th and 8th spot. Camel Light car not giving much up on that big engine car as they go through the infield. These corners much more advantageous to the prototype type car rather than the more stock car that Felton's driving. As you can see there, a lot of ground is made up on that infield turn there. Another couple of complexes coming up here as the Rusty Jones car makes ground on, and there we see the Shelton car. That car,
it's number 62, the Shelton car. Chevy March of the Shelton brothers, Steve and Tom from Fort Lauderdale, coming to rest here this afternoon. The Chevy March will be a DNF with 114 of 138 laps complete. In the Charlotte Grand Prix, the Sheltons, who have been running in 7th, find themselves in the grass.
well, I wouldn't say they're out, because we've seen lots of cars stop out there and miraculously a few laps later they suddenly reappear. I'm not quite sure how they, sort of like magic, they're suddenly back there on the track.
Well, he couldn't pick the place too much further away.
No, he looks like he really is out, yeah.
The Shelton brothers, who formed this team for the 1985 IMSA season, and were having a very good day, but it was not to continue for them. Number 62 looks to be a DNF.
They're a mighty long way from home.
The Ferrari dealers down in that part of the country, and they want to very much bring out a Ferrari effort in the coming season. There's the leader once again, Derek Bell, car number 14. The Charlotte Grand Prix, very much his at this time. The three-time winner of Le Mans, won Laguna Seca 2 weeks ago with this team, and they won at Miami. Now trying to win Charlotte, keep themselves right up in the point hunt, and they are up in lap traffic and coming up on Gene Sheldon, the winningest driver in the history of IMSA. He goes into turn number 1. He clears the lap traffic and continues to dominate the event. Holbert and Bell leading the Charlotte Grand Prix of 1985. The Jaguar, number 44, slowing dramatically. The second place car in the Charlotte Grand Prix is now pulling on pit road. He's been running very slowly around the course. Limps in. This is the second place car in the race. This will project the Redmond Haywood car up into second place. The way things look now, is happening at the 118th lap of 138 to be run. Car 44 is in. We saw the driver with his hand out as he came off the super speedway.
All sorts of throat-cutting signs from the crew there that look as if maybe something's going wrong with the engine.
Let's go to Jerry Garrett.
Well, the engine has been shut off down here, Ken. Bob Tullius had his helmet on there for a moment, but he took it off. It looks like it's terminal. The crew chief is looking underneath the car, says there's no hope for it. The driver is going to get out of it. Chip Robinson, they're done for the day after a very nice drive.
It's too bad for that Jaguar team. That leaves them with one hope, and that continues to be with the Redmond Haywood organization. The 04 now moves up one position into the second spot overall in the race. Now, the average speed is staying at 105.443 miles per hour, which means we'll have a new record. The old record, 103.731 miles per hour, was the Lanier Whittington mark in a Chevy March just a year back.
Well, the pressure's really off Derek Bell now, because in fact, he has, there we see the Chip Robinson coming out.
All right, let's go to Jerry Garrett.
We're down, we're going to try and get a word with Chip, but they're doing the belts back up on him right now. They're going to leave him in the car for the moment. I don't know exactly what they're going to do just yet. They're going to try and get the thing restarted, perhaps, to see if they can just chug around and earn some points here, Ken.
For Robinson, remember, he is running second in the overall GT prototype driver standings. Al Holbert is leading with 84 points. Robinson in second with 62, and they want those points. A lot of additional money coming in this year. Here he comes back on the course, number 44, limping back on.
Ooh, water coming out the side there, just under the driver's door. Did you see it as he swung around? That doesn't look good at all. He'll be most unpopular if he sees that in the middle of the banking and run to Derek Bell.
Let's go to Jerry Garrett.
Bob Tullius, the co-driver in that car. You look like you were done, Bob. Now you're back out.
Well, the gearbox has failed. Third gear's gone completely, and there's a lot of junk flying around inside the gearbox. We're just taking a shot at see if we can get it to finish. It's not going to finish strong, but at least it'll finish. And Chip is second in points, and well, he can use the points. So there's a worthwhile effort there. It's a little dangerous, and we're concerned about that aspect of it. But a little luck would be all right.
Car number 44 comes back on the course, 4th overall in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Holbert and Bell continuing to dominate. 962, that Porsche which has shown its colors so many times, just rolling over the competition. David Hobbs is doing just that again this afternoon.
Well, it certainly was given more of a run for its money than I thought it would be. The Ford Probe was very unfortunate to drop out early. The Jaguar was not mechanical. Okay, mechanical failure on the Chip Robinson car, but just a very bad pit stop put Brian and Hurley Haywood out of the running, which is a great shame. And the Busby cars, the Goodrich cars, just haven't been quite up to snuff, which I guess on a track like this you would really expect.
Jim Downing continues to lead in the Camel Light Series. The number 63 car stays 5th overall and leads in Camel Light. The Morgan Alsop car in 2nd, the Mosh Pauli car 3rd in that category. Here's number 14 back in the infield once again as they come to the 120th lap. Of course, they've had their times and they've come right to the finish and then had it all go away.
Well, things could go wrong, but I think Chris Economaki has some pearls of wisdom for us down in pit lane.
Well, they're grains of wisdom, not pearls. Jim Busby said earlier today that the asphalt is granulating off the surface of the track, and he showed a few specks on his uniform. Let's take a look at the wheels they took off the leading Porsche here. This is the inside of the front wheel on number 14, and this is all asphalt that's inside the wheel that's throwing it out of balance. Here are the rear wheels with the asphalt on the outside. There's enough, this is all ground up pavement from the track. It's collecting in these wheels and tending to throw them out of balance, and it's getting in the car and in the engine room and in all the parts of the racing car, and it may well be in the gearbox of the Jaguar that's causing it to fail. But at any rate, we're getting pulverized asphalt all over the atmosphere here. We're going to have to see OSHA about working in such a polluted atmosphere.
Hey, Chris, Chris, what about for next week with the Grand National cars coming in here and that banking up on the turns 3 and 4 area?
Well, I think that most of this is probably coming off the infield circuit. The NASCAR cars don't have the ground effects that these do. They're not being glued to the racetrack, even though they weigh 3,700 pounds. They sort of ride on it rather than plow their way through it. It's the aerodynamics of the undersides of these cars that make for 2,000, 2,500 pounds of downforce, in addition to the weight of the car that's doing this to the track surface.
Plus, of course, we have much stickier tires on this type of car, which is what drags the surface up, and of course, which is why these guys are finding it difficult to go through the banking absolutely flat out, because the tires are really basically too soft to construction and compound to go through the banking that fast, which is why NASCAR cars have very special tires.
Latest report from Dover, Delaware was that Bill Elliott continues to dominate anything that's a mile or larger this year in Winston Cup Grand National racing. He just can't be stopped.
I'm sure that Bill Elliott would still give up his win at Dover, Delaware this week for a win right here at Charlotte in the World 600 next week with a cool $1 million bonus awaiting his little grubby paws at the end of the race if he should win it.
The car number 14 that stays out in front here today, the Al Holbert car. Holbert is the one driver here who really has some experience on this super speedway. He drove in stock car races for some time, drove for Junie Donlevy here in the World 600. First time out, I think he ran about 6 laps. One time he ran the entire 600 miles. He told me yesterday, he said the last 100 miles, he definitely knew the feeling of a vegetable.
Yeah, when these drivers here have all been complaining about the heat and the strain, and of course these other guys next week they're going to go 600 miles.
There's the 3rd place car, number 67, and you're riding with Jim Busby as he's up on the 24-degree banking, and he's right up against the wall as he comes around, turns numbers 3 and 4, and comes down across the start-finish line for turn number 1 of this 2.25-mile road course where you're watching live. You're with Busby now as he sweeps into the infield portion of the course on a 4 or 5-degree bank there to assist him. Here he comes for turn 3. This was the part of the course that many said would give them real problems today. Have you had any trouble there?
No, we've seen very little action at turn 3, really. A good passing point. There you see him scooting along that little short infield straight, probably getting up to about 125, 130 down there. This is a long, long, long right-hander. I'm sure this is one of the corners that's breaking up, and they're bringing the asphalt out of. And then we know they're bringing the asphalt up here just as they go up onto the banking right at the apex here. Apparently they have a real bad problem with asphalt there.
The BF Goodrich car, number 67, running in the 3rd position. Jim Busby. That team.
He's running with Rick Knoop. It won't do Rick Knoop any harm to come 3rd, because that'll give him some needed points. He's running 3rd in the championship at the moment, but Al Holbert, if he wins this race and gets 20 points, he's going to make a gigantic leap to 104 points to Chip Robinson's 2nd at 62 points.
Car number 14 continuing to lead here this afternoon in the Charlotte Grand Prix. This race marks an anniversary for the Porsche of Al Holbert and Derek Bell.
Serial number of the third Porsche 962 ever built. It made its maiden voyage in the hands of Al Holbert at this race 1 year ago.
We got off to a poor start. We led, but we failed. But since then, the car's been through an awful lot.
Indeed, car 14 has since run 16 long races, and it's finished in the top 5 13 times, including a remarkable 7 trips to victory lane. The veteran Holbert maintains some race cars develop strong personalities, and he and co-driver Derek Bell are in agreement. They have this one figured out.
I liken this car to be a good partner. I mean, it's done a good job for me, but I wouldn't say it's like a long-lost buddy. You know, if it went away and was sold to someone, I'd say, well, you know, like good partners, someday you part your ways.
I've got to know it. It's got its own personality, and I can get in that car, and within 5 laps, I'm doing very fast times, which I enjoy. You know, it's not doesn't mean that I'm good. It means the car is excellent, that you can get down to a good time quickly, and I enjoy that. And I think the car has a great personality, and Al and I seem to have found out what it is and have a rapport with it.
Inevitably, Al and Derek will someday part company with their longtime friend, and Holbert thinks number 14 would be a real bargain high-mileage used car.
Well, I tell you, I would consider it pretty strongly if I was a buyer. It's got a lot of good things on it that have been massaged and added by the guys who work on them day in and day out and know what it takes. And I think those are things that they wouldn't find on a new one.
Number 14 with a big lead here, and it's just liable to be a chicken and biscuit celebration of that anniversary for Derek Bell. With 13 laps to go, they're closing in on victory here in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Stand by. We'll be back for the finish of this 500-kilometer battle right after this.
At the Charlotte Grand Prix, car number 63, Jim Downing, is continuing. That team is continuing to lead here in the Camel Light Series, and they are running 5th overall. Mafucci and Downing, number 63. The Mazda Argo is in first. The Morgan Alsop car, number 6. A Buick Royale is in second. They just pitted the second place car. And in third is the Marsh Pauley team. But Jim Downing, who was one of the men instrumental in putting this division together, giving folks a chance to operate with a prototype car, and not the great amount of money that is in the supercars that we're seeing here today. They still look mighty handsome, and they add to these fields. That car is now leading, and they've been winning this year. Let's go to Jerry Garrett.
Well, Ken, we are with Jim Downing right now. Jim, your car is in 5th place overall, running very strong.
Well, it is, and we've had almost a flawless day. I made one unscheduled stop because I thought I had a flat tire, but it was a false alarm.
Until just a lap or two ago, you were on the same lap with car number 6, the second place car in the class.
Well, Charles Morgan's car is about 3 seconds behind us, or at least they were just a minute ago. I think they're pitting for fuel right now, which should give us the edge and let us relax just a little bit.
Are you done in the pits for the day?
We are, unless something unexpected happens.
Well, strong run for car number 63.
10 laps to go for one of the nice gentlemen of the sport, Jim Downing. They've won 2 races with that car this year at Miami and Sebring, and they had seconds in the 24 Hours of Daytona and Road Atlanta, and they lead the light standings at the present time.
Well, as you had mentioned earlier, Bill Alsop said that their fuel consumption had deteriorated in the race to what they thought it was, and of course we just saw the result of that, a fatal stop there which dropped them right off the tail of the Mafucci Downing car, and they'll never make it up in the remaining lap.
Final on that NBA contest this afternoon. Philadelphia defeating the Boston Celtics 115-104. The world champions trying to make it 2 in a row. The next game, Celtics leading the series 3-1. You'll see it on Superstation WTBS Wednesday night, 8:05 Eastern. Philadelphia at the Garden in Boston. That's Wednesday night. Philadelphia winning today over Boston 115-104. And the Superstation brings you the action on Wednesday night, 8:05 Eastern, as Philadelphia and Boston continue their war. Here this afternoon, the battle seems to be in hand for car number 14. Derek Bell of England and Al Holbert of the United States. 2 of the most respected drivers in the IMSA racing field are out in front. And there they are, lapping that number 34. Bernie Hoffman's our director today. Bernie, if you can get a picture of that number 34, what a story there. The car he just lapped is a car that was built for $15,000. Out they came with an old stock car chassis, and they continue to pull away from the field. Holbert just whipped by them. They've been averaging about 30 to 40 miles an hour slower, but they're having a wonderful time with a little Mazda engine. It's called the OVS. It's the only one of its kind. Here is car number 14, staying well out in front. Has a lap on the field.
Just past the Jim Downing car, the leader of the Camel Light division there.
David,
back straight.
David, on that stop, the Redmond Haywood car, when 14 came in, has gone back in the lead lap, but he's on the tail end of it. So number 04, Redmond Haywood, is being shown in second place in the lead lap.
But he's right.
There is that gem, car number 34. Thank you, gentlemen. It's very rarely you see a prototype quite like that.
It sure is.
There's a $15,000 car competing against cars that cost in the millions. It runs in the Camel Light series. It is not one of the front runners, but they're having a wonderful time here this weekend. They brought all the relatives, and they're out here, and they're competing against car number 14. They can go home and say, yeah, we tried, but Holbert and Bell beat us this time.
Just beat us, I say. Just beat us. And there's old Derek Bell smiling as usual. And, well, he might smile. If you're making the money, he's making you smile, too. The Haywood car, as you said, the Redmond Haywood car is on the end of the lead lap. In fact, it's within sight. Derek Bell can see that car just 7 seconds ahead of him down the road, so as long as he can see him, there's really no need to panic.
David, I might mention that my pals Mike Van Steenberg and Larry O'Brien make up OVS. It's O'Brien Van Steenberg, and they have not had a good year. They were 21st at Sebring, but they were 4th in class, which is much better than last year when on the debut of that little car you saw, they tipped it over.
Well, I thought it might be Ove Vinder's Circle or something like that.
Car number 14 stays in front. Here is Derek Bell and Al Holbert's car out in front for the Charlotte Grand Prix with less than 9 laps to go, less than 8 laps to go now. Let's go to Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
And Ken Squire, we're watching a virtuoso performance here by Al Holbert, who has won 3 Camel GT championships and will take a big leap here today, it appears, toward his 4th title. And Derek Bell, who's so many times a winner at Le Mans, who jet hops back and forth between the World Endurance Series in Europe and the American Endurance Series here, the Camel GT. Their lead now extending to almost a lap with just 8 laps to go. We've got 42,000 fans looking on here. All in all, a pretty doggone good day of racing here at Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll be back for the finish of the Charlotte Grand Prix.
On the 2.25 mile Charlotte road racing course, 9 turns. You're watching the car number 14 trying to win its 3rd IMSA prototype race of 1985. Winner at Miami, winner at Laguna Seca, California 2 weeks ago. And here at Charlotte, the team of Derek Bell and Al Holbert now begin to dominate after a tremendous fracas at the beginning of this race as the Ford Probe really showed some muscle. We saw a great battle ensuing as the Jaguars came to the front, and they had their moment in the sun. But now it's the defending IMSA champion, Al Holbert's colors, that are out in front. England's Derek Bell at the controls of the car as we get into the final laps. We have completed 133 of the 180 laps, and it is at a record speed this afternoon. With David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire, trackside, and let's follow this car number 14 through the infield portion of the course with now 5 laps remaining in the event in our live Superstation coverage. We remind you at the end of the season, the Triple Crown will be yours, the fall Triple Crown of racing. You will see Rockingham, Atlanta, and Riverside, California, last 3 Winston Cup races of the season in live flag-to-flag coverage here on Superstation WTBS. There's number 14, the 962, continues to rumble around this track as a prelude to the 600 when the Grand National cars come in here for that shootout for $1 million for Bill Elliott a week away.
Well, Derek, of course, is having a pretty easy run here now. He's just under a lap ahead of the Haywood Redmond car. I mean, he's got it within sight, so he just knows as long as he just keeps it there, he's in pretty good shape. That's not to say he's slowing down at all. He's still going very, very fast indeed, setting a record pace.
There's the second place car. Hurley Haywood is driving, number 04. You can see the bodywork a little loose from that moment of near disaster up on the banking at 180 miles an hour when a back marker was in front of number 804, and he had to go all the way up to the wall and get it sideways to recover that car.
The Team Jaguar, the other Team Jaguar, the 44 car that stopped for a malfunction of the gearbox, in which the owner, Bob Tullius, was a bit worried about it going on, is in fact still pressing on it quite a good lick and is running in 4th spot.
Don't forget the Cubs versus the Braves this afternoon, immediately following our live coverage of the Charlotte Grand Prix. The Norelco Award, an additional $1,500 today for the outstanding performance in the race. Guess who won it, Hobbs?
Let me think. Gene Felton.
Nope.
Nope. Derek Bell.
Derek Bell. If there's any additional money ever offered at track, somehow it falls in the pockets of the man who's driving car number 14 right now, Derek Bell.
Now, why Derek Bell would get that and not Brian Redman, I don't know, but there it is. I suppose that's the way of the world.
Voted on by the press. All that august body, one floor beneath us, has made their vote, and Derek Bell is $1,500 richer this afternoon. It's the Cubs versus the Braves, 4:05 today on Superstation WTBS. That's coming up next this afternoon. And Wednesday, oh my goodness, what a battle that's going to be. That's going to be the Celtics and Philadelphia. That's an oh my heart kind of battle, Hobbs. That one this year, always when Philadelphia and Boston get together. Of course, you people from England don't know much about that.
Is that cricket?
No, it's not.
Playing cricket? Oh.
Ask Dr. J if it's cricket. Here's car number 67. That is the Busby car that is running in 3rd place. Jim Busby back at the controls. Remember, they won at Riverside, California earlier this year. And here is number 14, Derek Bell, staying up in front. You were with Busby in the 3rd place car, coming round the banking. That is Busby back in the car, they're reporting. And now you're back with number 14 up on the banking another time. Derek Bell setting sail with 136 laps complete and 2 to go. It was such an outstanding battle for some 2.5 hours as that Ford probe gave America real hope that Ford is back in prototype racing. That wasn't all negative today, the way that car, with a change of engines this morning, came out and exerted its power, ran that 4-cylinder up in front of the field for quite some time.
Well, it was doing a tremendous job, and of course, quietly getting on with the job after first lap spin was Bill Adam in the March Buick, another domestic engine there. Went extremely well, pulled in the field, and then they had an unfortunate demise when John Paul Jr. got behind the wheel and then had an incident with the back marker, which put him and in the end Bob Aiken out as well. Here we see Derek in amongst the lap traffic there, the Dave White Porsche 935 and the Gene Felton Pontiac.
1 lap to go. 1 lap to go here in the Charlotte Grand Prix in our live coverage. Don't forget, Braves versus Cubs next this afternoon on the Superstation at Dover, Delaware, 425 miles down. Bill Elliott's in front, and the bandit, Harry Gant, has come to 2nd. Kyle Petty is 3rd there. Kyle Petty, with the Wood Brothers car, is up in the 3rd position. A lap down, Ricky Rudd in 4th, then Tim Richmond, followed by Darrell Waltrip and Richard Petty. Car number 14 in the back straightaway, running out the last moments of the Charlotte Grand Prix, and what a magnificent win for this Al Holbert team. The IMSA International Motorsports Association champions of a year ago, about to receive the checkered flag. It's down, and Derek Bell has succeeded in winning the 3rd race for this team in 1985. Al Holbert and Derek Bell victorious. Jaguar will come across with the 2nd finishing position, and the BF Goodrich car. Busby is going to see himself in 3rd. Here's the 04, still closing, lapping cars as time runs out. Hurley Haywood in number 04, as they're going to come through with a fine 2nd place finish today, David.
Yeah, the crowd standing and giving Derek Bell a standing ovation. Obviously must have heard about his award from Norelco.
Bodywork still loose and flapping on car number 04, but it's been an unflappable Hurley Haywood and Brian Redmond working that car throughout the race. Meanwhile, in the Camel Light winner coming across the line, it is the Jim Downing car. Mafucci and Downing winning in Camel Light. The Mazda Argo with Morgan Alsop for 2nd, Marsh Pauly for 3rd, Greenfield Hurlin for 4th. 4th place overall this afternoon in the prototype cars will be car number 44. It'll be Chip Robinson and Bob Tullius. There is the Jaguar number 04. Across the line, Brian Redmond and Hurley Haywood's team this afternoon. And the 44 just 2 or 3 seconds back, but several laps down after that lengthy stop on pit road.
Well, that win by Jim Downing will give him a huge lead in the Camel Light division. And, of course, Al Holbert leads to a very, very impressive lead in the big division.
David, one of the things that really surprised me today was that the Jaguar, seem to give up first place over a matter of seatbelts. They spent an incredible amount of time trying to get the drivers adjusted to the car.
Well, it seems pretty amazing to me, because the one thing that team has, the Bob Tullius team, is run strictly on iron discipline and control. And for them to make a mess of a pit stop like that is most un-Bob Tullius and Group 44 like.
There you see the winners now stopped on pit road, collecting their crew to head to Victory Lane, one of the loveliest victory lanes anywhere on the racing circuit. And there we'll greet our winners today: Derek Bell, Al Holbert, and the winners in the Camel Light Series this afternoon, Downing and Mafucci in car number 63. There's Gene Felton's number 47 coming in after a very fine run for that team today.
And Downing and Mafucci doing incredibly well and coming fifth. In fact, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th position. There's the leading car. There's Mafucci driving it into winner's circle. And coming
great performance here for that Camel Light machine and for the Camel Light cars in general. I'll tell you, 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th is a good run for these little guys, and that's a growing division. Great day for Jim Downing, who helped give life to the division, and they're going to have their moment in Victory Lane right alongside that potent Porsche team of Holbert and Bell.
Average speed is a new record for the Charlotte Grand Prix, 106.691 miles per hour for Al Holbert and company, erasing the mark of Lanier and Whittington in their Chevy March of a year ago of 103.731. New record, 106.691. You'll be meeting some of the personalities who battled it out here today in this IMSA race. 10 more to go in 1985. It's on from here to Lime Rock, Connecticut for their 2-hour contest on Monday the 27th, and then June 9th, the 500-kilometer race on the Mid-Ohio course, one of the loveliest courses in America, and of course July 7th, back to the Glen. Here we are, finding Victory Lane for the winners today. Pulling up Al Holbert, Derek Bell, and company. Great racing team, just waiting their time out through all the hurry and scurry of the early going, and then dominating totally the race in the final moments. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, smiling Derek Bell gets out of the car. Derek, you obviously are doing things right these days, reading the right books, drinking the right fluids, and so forth.
Well, I don't know about that, Chris. It's just the fact the car was so good. I had to drive it well within its limits and mine. I mean, we had to sort of keep it going with the tires. The tires were really very, very worn.
Derek,
I'm not too bad.
You're drenched in perspiration. It must have been a tough drive.
I told you should drive with me sometime. It might get you in shape.
Maybe so. You told me that in Miami and I wasn't listening.
No, it's just that it's so hot in there.
You're soaking wet.
Yeah, but I'm not worn out at all. But it's just that it's so very hot inside, you know. I didn't even bother to put the cool hat on until the last 10 minutes.
Okay, what about the race itself when you were out there? The Jags were around. Were there any times, Derek, when you felt that you may not win this thing?
Not really, no, not while I was driving. I don't mean that in the conceited way. I mean that I knew the Jags had another pit stop to make, and I only had a very brief one to make right at the end, so I knew we were looking good, but I had a lot of tire vibration, and of course you don't want anything to happen on the banking, so consequently I took it very steady, and in fact came in early, and we just changed tires and found out that in fact there's a lot of rubber built up inside the rim and was making the wheel out of balance. There was nothing wrong with the tires, but I mean, never at any point did I drive anything more than 7/10 of the capability of myself or the car.
We understand that in the early stages, the throttle return spring wasn't the way it should be. How long did that situation prevail, and how difficult was it under those circumstances?
I didn't have to drive it, of course. Al was doing a great job mastering it. I still don't know quite what was wrong with it. But it was obviously cured when after the pit stop, because they sprayed some WD-40 on it and put it all right.
Well, Derek, you know, you really are all wound up. Most race drivers get out of the car and put on an act that it was tough and they can hardly talk, they gasp and breathe. Have you ever thought about television as a career?
You know I have, Chris.
Let's see, we can have, you've won a special award over here. We'll get Al. We've been talking to Al all day. Paul? This is Paul Dentone of Norelco. You've won the vote for the driver of the race, which carries a nice award with it. How much is the award?
$1,500 today for winning the first GTP Norelco Drivers' Cup.
Well, thank you very much. It's very kind of you, and thanks very much to Norelco for supporting IMSA so well. It's really great. Thank you.
That's only one of many awards that you'll be getting. We'll be coming back here in a little bit. In the meantime, let's go to Jerry Garrett. You know, your grandfather was a great racing driver, Todd, and your dad is. Are you planning to do this?
I hope so.
There you go. What do you think about that, Al?
It's fine with me as long as he keeps the wheels down on the ground.
Now, a lot of racing fathers have got their young children go-karts and quarter midgets, eighth midgets. What kind of motorized vehicle does he have?
I think he's got one of each at this point.
Really?
Well, he's got a three-wheeler and a four-wheeler. Well, the family does, and go-kart and he traded his motorcycle on a go-kart, so he decided to go for 4 wheels.
How old is he?
Todd's nearly 11 on 14th of July, which was the traditional Watkins Glen date.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's nice to see you, Todd. Congratulations on a nice day, Al. Derek is over there talking about how great the car performed, but he's drenched in sweat. It looked like you have an easier time with the car than he does from a standpoint of physical exertion.
Well, I think he's on the spot more. If I mess up, then I got the answer to nobody but myself. And if he does, he's got to answer to me. I don't know. You know, Derek's always been, he's a terrific athlete in great shape, and he just sweats a lot. Like Hurley used to sweat a lot, and I don't. But the car was quite good today, and I glad we were able to run our pace that we decided upon before the race started, and Derek followed it to a cue. It made everybody, including our own guys, a little nervous at first because he was losing a little ground to the Jaguar, but that was the pace that we were deciding to run, and it worked.
Well, that's great. Congratulations again. Let's go now to Dave Despain.
And so the Charlotte Grand Prix is history, and here are the guys who solved the answer to the toughest question in endurance racing, and that is the question of strategy. How hard, how fast? These guys had the perfect combination today. Holbert and Bell come home winners by almost a lap, 1 minute and 6 seconds the interval. The people who are not here played very significantly in the story of this race. The Ford Probe with a last-minute engine problem this morning. They had to change that engine, barely got to the grid, and then had a brilliant drive, running in a tight pack of 4 up front for a long time until ultimately the car broke and dropped out of the race. The problems for the Buick continue. John Paul Jr. and his co-driver Bill Adam with another unfortunate day. Adam spun on the first lap, and then later they crashed with Bob Aiken while charging back and knocked them out of the race. And perhaps the most frustrating moment of all for Redmond and Haywood, who couldn't get the seatbelts changed and lost the race. That's the story and the running order. We'll be back to kind of wrap up this Charlotte Grand Prix in a moment.
Race and the race summary, averaging 106 miles per hour. 15 of the 30 cars finished the distance, 2 cautions for 7 laps. And perhaps the most dramatic of those 2 caution periods